Hot stove conversations about baseball, history, football, and current events that may leave you saying there's more to consider. Now, here's your host, Jack Moore.
Welcome to More to Consider, again with Jack and Charles. Charles, how are you, brother?
I'm doing all right. Yourself?
I'm doing good. Okay, so the show, More to Consider. So those of you that watch, and our subscriptions are certainly going up. More and more people are subscribing. Great. Appreciate that. I just did a show with Gerald Posner, and seems like we're getting a lot of traction on that. Of course, he's very famous for writing Case Closed. And when it comes to the Kennedy assassination, you don't go far in that world of Kennedy assassination analysis without his book coming up. And he is a major player. Now, one of the points, and I'm going to lead into it with this, one of the points that I brought to him in that show is that I think it's David Kaiser, the author who wrote Road to Dallas, made the point of two major churches of the assassination, the Church of the Grand Conspiracy and the Church of the Lone Nut. And Posner is in, according to this historian, he gets labeled as sort of one of the high priests of the Lone Nut. He buys the Lone Nut. Oswald did it. Vincent Bugliosi's mentioned. David Bellin, who was one of the lawyers that acted in support of the Warren Commission, was a big defender, wrote a book in defense of the Warren Commission. And then he said the Church of the Grand Conspiracy, its greatest high priest, Mark Lane, followed by, some almost 25 to 30 years later, would have been about 25 years later after Rush to Judgment in 1966, is Oliver Stone in the 1991 cinematic masterpiece in some people's minds, JFK, which I agree with Posner, and we got some response on that. I think it was a great movie. And I love Oliver Stone. The first movie I ever saw, the first movie I ever saw with Oliver Stone was Midnight Express. And he won the Academy Award, I think, for Best Picture that year. I think it was his first movie. Platoon, Born on the 4th of July, Wall Street. All of those spoke to contemporary America, and sometimes from angles that he took in his own life. If I'm not mistaken, he was like a Yale college student, university student that went off to Vietnam, sort of mimicking or sort of the background for the character in Platoon that Charlie Sheen played. Right. So I like Oliver Stone, and I think Oliver Stone is absolutely operating in what he thinks is the best interest of the American public to bring about, hey, there may be sinister actions at the crossroads, that some of these people that run our government are not acting in the best interest of truth or the people, et cetera. So I have no problem with him. But the argument that Kaiser made was that those that are in the church, and you can be driven from the church, you can be driven out of these churches by having the wrong ideas or saying the wrong things. It is definitely a church type atmosphere. You don't want to be excommunicated. If you're flying with the flag, you got to stay with it. And he said, in the Church of the Grand Conspiracy, anything that cannot be fully explained means mass conspiracy. And he goes, there's another lane. And I brought this to Gerald Posner because I think him and I are kindred spirits on this. The third lane is all the evidence of the assassination would point to Oswald being the shooter, but it doesn't mean he wasn't involved with someone else. It doesn't mean he was put up to it by someone. It doesn't mean he did it and thought he was going to then be, whisked away from the school book depository and then went, oh, nobody came to pick me up like they said they were going to. I got to run because I know I did it. And that would imply patsy. I'm down with that. So his point was, you can believe Oswald did it, but you don't have to think necessarily that he wasn't involved with others. And last point, then I'm gonna let you go after me here. The last point was a Gary Hart so when the Church Committee and the Rockefeller Commission met in the mid-70s, they're investigating coming out of Watergate. What has the CIA been involved in? This is when it's discovered the CIA had enlisted the mob to kill Castro and other things. And then March 6, 1975 is a watershed event. Geraldo Rivera brings on Robert Groden, Dick Gregory, the comedian and activist. They go on Good Night America on ABC. I'm 13. I'll never forget this night because I'm hearing they're going to show the Zapruder film to the American public, not in just still pictures as Life magazine had done following the assassination. They're going to actually show it in motion on national TV. I couldn't sleep for 3 weeks when Kennedy's head explodes. No, seriously. And I brought up this point about young people today with video games and the rest. I was a 13-year-old who had never seen an image like that. And even though kids may see it in cartoonish type of figures and whatever they see, that was really earth shattering to people. They had no idea. They've heard descriptions, Kennedy's head. And you see the film the first time, like I did. They got Grodin had stabilized the film. You see his head open up, and I'm like, oh my, that's what really happened. So it was earth shattering. And a lot of people saw in that video, finally seeing it nationally, that it damn sure looks like Kennedy's head goes backwards, which I'm going to address at some point here and why. But his head goes backwards. Then there's a call for a new investigation. Congress gets involved. The first director, they fire the first chief counsel. Then they go to Robert Blakey. They go through several years really debunking a lot of the conspiracy theories. They do a pretty good job with. Then this Dick DeBelt recording is brought in with weeks left to go, and it kind of changes the whole outcome of the final findings of the House Select Committee. But during that time, Gary Hart was quoted as saying, there's two things you have to think about with the assassination of Kennedy. One is the how it happened, and two is the whodunit. And I think he was exactly right. It has been said that was the most insightful thing he ever said. Maybe that's the only insightful thing. But Gary Hart, senator at the time, says, I think something that's very important. There is a way it happened. And my point to you has been the chief criticism of the Warren Commission from Jump Street, namely Mark Lane, and to some degree, Josiah Thompson with 6 seconds. And I love Josiah Thompson. I just love to listen to him. I think he's a great, wonderful man. I'd love to get him on a show. He must be right around 90 years of age now. But he wrote a really famous work, 6 Seconds in Dallas, where most of, if not all of the criticism early on was Oswald couldn't do it. It's an impossible shot. No one could pull it off. And as I mentioned to Posner the other day, somebody did. There was a headshot. And it wasn't a pistol up close. Regardless of what people think about William Greer, the driver, he did not shoot Kennedy. In some of the more degraded editions of the Zapruder film, when they're really grainy and they're not in the greatest of quality, there is an illusion that some people believe with Greer with both of his hands on the wheel is actually turning in the car to kill Kennedy. We can cover that sometime, but I hear that all the time. The driver did it. It was the driver, so there's all the different conspiracies when it comes to the how it happened, but it leaves open the whole lane of the whodunit. So Charles, we've gone back and forth. And by the way, folks, I love this guy. He's my best friend. We're best friends. Fair?
Yes. Oh, yes.
But we love to get on here and argue with each other. Fair? So
yes,
maybe I'll ruin the plot there. Maybe everybody likes that we argue, but we do argue a lot. So Charles, pick it apart. Like if I say to you, I think all the solid evidence suggests that Oswald did the shooting. You tell me why that doesn't matter.
Because I look at it as a distraction as to whether or not he did the shooting. The evidence specifically, which you most hear people talk about, is the evidence around the actual shooting itself. I don't really care that much about that part. I'm more concerned because you had mentioned earlier the who and the how. Mm-hmm. I'm way more concerned about the why. Way more concerned about that because there's a whole bunch of people and entities that had a lot of incentive to get rid of Kennedy. A lot. Right. And they also had the ability to make it look pretty much any way that they wanted to make it look. They've done it before. It's not like anything out of the ordinary for them. It really isn't. I'm not going to say this is child's play, but I mean, this has happened before when it comes to these people. So why wouldn't they do it this time? I just don't,
That brings up an important. I'm going to say real quick. One of the people that made a comment after the Gerald Posner show made a comment about his specific murder trial. And this is true. As a practicing attorney who did both criminal defense and criminal prosecution, I'm not Clarence Darrow. I mean, I'm not saying I was doing massively famous. Nobody knows me from the massively famous cases I worked on as an attorney. Mm-hmm. But I did time as a state prosecutor, Commonwealth of Virginia, and I did time as a defense attorney. And I used to really beat the students over the head about this when I taught criminal justice. I believe there may be, and I should probably do a little some kind of research on this. I think I've run into a couple of cases, but as a general rule, motive is never an element of a crime. So the most element-rich crime when you're teaching it, like one of the most element-rich crimes you ever have to teach students with is robbery. It's the taking of property from a person with intent to impermanently deprive them thereof through force, threat, or intimidation or something along that line. So I used to use this example. If you were standing in front of or you were walking into a 7-Eleven, the guy goes, "Hey, I need $20 from you." And you're like, whatever, you blow past me, comes back out. Then the guy goes, "Hey, if you know what's good for you, you're going to give me $20. You're like, "All right, already." So you give this panhandler $20. If you walked away, would you go, "Wait a minute, did I just get robbed?" It'd be a question of, did you voluntarily give so it could really come down to that. If the cops get called in, like, or what the guy say to you? He goes, "Well, if I know what's best for you," well, he might be saying, if I know what's best for you, I'll get a blessing from the creator if I give you the $20. Did he really threaten you? So that would be the question of, that's literally what you come down to an analysis of the elements, where all the elements met. But juries, I can tell you this, juries will sit there and listen to evidence and go, "Yeah, there were 3 witnesses. Yeah, the guy pulled a weapon out. Yeah, he shot the guy. Yeah, it's actually on the videotape, the security camera across." They'll see all of it and they'll go, "I don't think I know why he did it." And they might acquit the guy. Then when they're asked, the jury's like, why did you acquit him? "Because I never understood why he did it." "Are you pretty sure he pulled the gun out and shot the guy?" "Yeah, but they never proved a motive to me." Like, it's like they literally see all the evidence of the shooting, but they get tied up on motive. A good prosecutor will say, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, when you hear the jury charge, when you hear the elements read to you, motive will not be one. But if you can teach motive, or you can present motive to a jury, money." So if you can find the smoking gun of 3 weeks earlier, he told a friend, I want that son of a bitch dead." Okay, that helps because it sounds like he was motivated to kill.
Right.
But it's not an element. So I say all that to say, most of the attack, again, early on in the Warren Commission, was over, I don't think he could have done it. So now you're accepting that, yes, Oswald could have done it. Could have been his rifle, ballistically matched, etc. Had he had a trial in Texas, they never would have had to prove why Oswald did it. And one of the comments I got made that point. You don't have to prove motivation. You just have to prove that he took a rifle, pointed it down Elm Street, pulled the trigger, and struck Kennedy. Now,
I agree. Yeah, but that's why we think that's useless. That's why we think the whole argument about Oswald is absolutely useless.
What argument about Oswald?
As in him, whether or not he took the shot or not. That's.
It's definitely useless into who did it.
Well, I hear what you're saying, man. But again, on the pyramid of the who, how,
right,
why trumps all of that. It's the why that trumps all of that.
Be careful with Trump when you say Trump.
I understand. Yes. Right. It is at the top of the pyramid for the fact that there's so many entities, as I said earlier, that wanted him dead. There were so many because he was going to stop them from making money. Now, you would say that I'll use a situation where a robbery situation.
Right.
Somebody comes up and robs me for my money, and they shoot me because they wanted the money. That's why. And I put up a resistance to them. That's why they shot me. Well, okay, that's their motive. They wanted my money. Well, I could see the same motive with the people who wanted Kennedy dead. Why should we not talk about that? Why worry about? Hold on.
Well, let me say it real quick. All right.
Hold on.
There's a point that needs to be made right now, but go ahead.
Hold on. But the thing is, okay, the guy shot me. Okay, that's fine. If the jury, that's what they want to see, fine, whatever. But the rest wants, specifically when it comes to this JFK thing, want to know why. Why? Because again, whether or not one person did it, okay, if this one person did it because he just didn't like Kennedy or whatever, that's really easy for the people who really wanted him dead to get people to believe. Because it takes all of the responsibility off of them. It turns all of the focus to whether or not the bullet tumbled. And again, we don't really care about that. We want to know who were the individuals that were involved in this. Because it clearly, if Oswald did it. I mean, how about this? I'm going to go and say, yes, Oswald did do it. That does not take away the fact that Johnson had a motivation for him to disappear. The CIA had a motivation for him to disappear. The military-industrial complex had a motivation for him to disappear. Other countries had a motivation for him to disappear. I don't really care about the one individual when it comes to
Okay, Charles,
Oswald.
I got to jump
Yes.
back in. I got to jump
Sure.
back in.
Mm-hmm.
Posner's made this point many times, and I get it. I'm a fan of Posner. I get everybody gets that too, but I think he made a great point. The fact that many powers may have been aligning to eliminate Kennedy. There's the argument for the mob. There's the argument for Castro. I've heard Castro would. Well, Castro knew that the U.S. government was trying to eliminate him. That certainly gives him a motivation. Okay, there's all types of powers. Here's the point. All types of powers that may have wanted him eliminated. But Posner's made this point several times. I'm giving him credit for this point. It doesn't mean that Oswald didn't beat him to it. It didn't mean that Johnson didn't greatly benefit from Oswald not getting along with Marina, and had Marina taken him back, he leaves the rifle, what we talked about on that episode. I don't know. Maybe, one person in the comments after the show with Posner said, nah, I think he still would have done it even if Marina said, I'll take you back. I don't know. Marina Oswald, on the night before the assassination, sort of wondered like, hey, maybe if I'd have said, but something I didn't mention in that show that I want to mention now, she said it was the first time she had power over him. Before, she was always being dragged around by whatever he wanted to do or couldn't do. And now that she had Ruth Payne to fall back on, she's like, I got a place to stay. So I'm going to do it. Like, yeah, Lee, you're not quite there yet. Show me some more of what you can do for me to be man and wife. Buy me some things, take care of some things. He's miffed. He leaves the cash he has, minus just about enough to get him to the border and a bus ticket. So he seems to be disgruntled. He seems to be heartbroken. He leaves his wedding band, blah, blah, blah. So there is a chance that whoever this person Oswald is possibly would not have committed the murder had it been for her coming back. So then you'd say, did he just do all that to leave a good story, to make it look like he was indifferent? We don't know any of those things. But when you bring up all of those powers that could have wanted Kennedy dead or should have wanted Kennedy dead, it doesn't mean that some rogue agent or just somebody with a death wish or whatever decided on that day, I'm going to go do something as extreme as shooting at the chief executive. And then all these other people lined up and say, wow, that really worked to our benefit, but we had nothing to do with him. If you agree that Oswald could have been the shooter and you think it doesn't matter, you still got to make a connection between all these agents that wanted him dead and Oswald. You have to.
Okay. So, all right. This is the one that really sticks out to me when it comes to the connection. Do you think that Oswald worked with, I didn't say for, I said with the CIA?
I have definitely heard there was a connection, but I've never seen any concrete evidence of it.
Well, I'm going to give you one, and I would really love to hear your opinion about this.
Mm-hmm.
Please explain to me how someone during the height of the Cold War could leave the United States, go to the Soviet Union, marry a woman whose father was a high muckety-muck in the KGB.
It was actually the uncle. It was an uncle that had some connection.
Uncle.
Yeah, but it wasn't the father. But yeah, there was a connection.
And then
I don't think it was a great connection, but
let back into the country without being run through the ringer.
Totally agree.
Without him being paid, as to say, working for that agency to go over there and do whatever. Of course, there's no question that guy worked for the CIA, worked with the CIA. So that's just one. So if that's the case, and you know what they say, once you work for them, once you're a company man, you're always a company man, always.
Fair enough.
And I'm going to say that it's a binary choice that people are presented with when it comes to this. Did he do it? Or did he not do it? Well, no, I'm going to say, was he part of a conspiracy who planned to do it? And of course, and especially a high-level conspiracy like this, you always always have to have a fall guy. Always. And what you try to do is funnel all of the information, or should I say all the focus, down to a single person. That way, once that single person is eliminated, then it's a whole bunch of guessing.
Well, don't you think Ruby was on the hook? All right, Ruby kills Oswald. Somebody had to tell him to do it, right?
I would say he was part of it too.
Okay, well then you got to kill Ruby, and some say he was killed. They injected him with cancer. He's gone by 1967. Then whoever did that, you got to kill them too.
Do you remember who Ruby's psychiatrist was after this?
Oh, it was the same guy it was a CIA type, wasn't he, that played with Manson
exactly.
as well?
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't remember the name.
Also, Sirhan, him too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It was. This guy was handpicked to go and talk to all of these people that allegedly were high-level assassins, if you want. Let's just call them high-level murderers.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. He was a company man.
Okay. So you think he did it? So explain. All right. Well, okay. Now you don't accept that. Is he on the second floor eating lunch while somebody else takes his rifle and fires the shots?
Again, man, I don't talk about that because honestly, it is focusing on the wrong thing. I'm not going to waste my time talking about it.
When you say the wrong thing, then you tell me which one of these organizations did it.
Dude, no, again, man.
No. You tell me. I think Oswald shot Kennedy and ran from the scene and killed a cop and got arrested.
And
I want to know who is the organization that did it.
Dude, I agree with you. Can we move on from that and go to something else?
I want to go to something else. You tell me who the hell did it. Who put him up to it?
Can we first agree?
Tell me who did it.
Can we first agree that Oswald did it?
I think Oswald's a shooter.
Okay, thanks. Can we stop talking about it and go on to something else?
So now you've accepted the single bullet theory.
No.
Because you did the other day.
No, listen to what I'm saying, man. Listen to what I'm saying. It is a waste of time talking about that part of it.
I don't think it's a waste of time at all.
It is a waste of time because
I think in a murder, identifying the shooter is really important. Dude, I think identifying who actually fired the shots is very important to a murder.
And that's exactly what they want you to argue about. Something that really doesn't even matter. Let me finish, Ren. Let me finish, and I'll get to that. Okay, let me finish when I get to that.
All right.
That is that whole thing about saying squirrel. Yeah, when you say squirrel, your dog looks and starts focusing on that squirrel instead of, or if your dog sees a squirrel, instead of was right in front of his face. And he stops asking questions. He stopped worrying about food. He stops doing everything. He's solely focused on the squirrel.
Let me ask you this. Are you focused on the squirrel?
Okay, there's a squirrel over there. That's fine.
No. Are you focused on, is Charles focused on the squirrel?
No.
Are you focused on the squirrel?
Listen to what I'm saying, man.
All right. I'm trying. Okay.
I see the squirrel, but I'm not letting the squirrel distract me from everything else. That's what I'm saying.
Since you're not distracted by the squirrel, tell me who did it. CIA, mob, combinations. Tell me who did it.
As I said, man, you were talking about motivation.
Right.
You were talking about motivation earlier. Okay. If somebody robs me, their motivation is to get my money. Right?
No, that's their intent to get your money. Their motivation might be they got to pay their friend's drug habit.
Fine. That's fine. Call it what you want.
I'm saying there's a distinction. Motivation would be the reason why. You have an intent. Once I pull the gun and say, give me your money, my intent is to rob you. My motivation might be a lot of different things. I'm supporting a drug habit.
Okay.
My old lady needs money. Yeah, that's motivation.
I'll give you that.
My motivation, even to why I picked you and not somebody else. You won't put up a fight and the other guy will.
No, I agree.
Well, that's more selection, but go ahead. Yeah.
My motivation is I need my company to make money.
Who's your company?
Somebody. Let me, dude. You're making this more difficult. I
want to hear some concrete.
Really, you're making this more difficult. Well, the thing is, I don't want to talk about Oswald because that really doesn't. Fine,
the shooter doesn't matter. Okay, who actually fired the shots and ran from the scene doesn't matter. Fine, I got you.
It is a waste of time to even focus on it. Okay. And the reason that it's a waste of time to focus on it because you literally waste time and effort on why. That's the most important reason, most important thing. Why? Okay. Why would somebody want to do this?
There was lots of forces that wanted Kennedy dead.
Okay, and all these forces were infinitely way more powerful than Oswald.
Okay.
Why aren't we focusing on that? Well, Oswald was just a guy who was mad at Kennedy. Okay, big whoop.
There's no evidence he was mad at Kennedy.
Okay, then okay. I mean then
There wasn't any evidence he was mad. He never spoke ill of Kennedy.
okay, so why then?
Some have said, and this was what Posner said the other day, if he'd been back in the Soviet Union, he might have been taking a shot at Nikita Khrushchev. It would have just
Why?
been
Why is that?
because he was of the nature, I'm going to be known in history. He's got to make an historical statement. The shot he took at General Walker back in April of '63. He's just that guy. He is a malcontent. He hates when he was in the Soviet Union, they didn't do communism well enough. That's why he wants to go to Cuba. Wherever he goes, he's a malcontent. That's the argument. It's the argument the Warren Commission made, which a lot of people poo-poo. He was actually this really bright guy, down on his luck. However, every job he had, he lost. He never was. He always felt he was smarter than everyone around him. He wasn't a particularly popular Marine when he was with the Marine Corps. He was bullied a lot by other Marines because he's always running around telling everybody how smart he is. And, he made rank and lost it. He was court-martialed. He shot himself one time when he was in the Marine Corps barracks.
Okay.
A lot of stuff that wasn't really good as far as an historical record. Now, this all might have been to create a profile of somebody to fit what they needed to be the patsy. I get it. I've heard all these arguments. I'm asking you, though, who is the who behind it?
Well, again, we've done as a government done much worse for less. Smedley Butler talked about this, the latter part of his life.
The internal overthrow of the United States?
No, not that part. Not that part. I'm talking about what he did as a Marine. As in, he's like all the people that we killed, all the countries that we overthrew.
Okay.
All because of business.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of people during the early 60s who had a lot to lose if we didn't go to war. And what was their roadblock? Kennedy was. He was a roadblock. They have no issue with getting rid of one person. They don't care what office that person holds. It doesn't really matter to them. This one person is a roadblock. We have to get rid of them.
Okay.
We've done it before. I don't. You're asking me to show you concrete evidence. All I'm asking is why aren't you asking more questions and instead of focusing on Oswald? That's all we're asking.
I'm totally lost now.
I don't
totally
understand
lost.
why.
What I'm saying is Kennedy drove around in an open car. Probably not a good move. Somebody blew his brains out. Probably not. Bad time in American history. Now, for you to say that, and I'll give you one of these things. I don't know what it means. It might have all been orchestrated, or it might have been setting for a later explanation. Johnson was recording phone calls. Lyndon Johnson recorded phone calls. And in a phone call with J. Edgar Hoover, what do you think he asked Hoover days after the assassination?
I don't know.
He's like, J. Edgar, what do you think happened? He goes, it's this Oswald cat. He's the one that did it. That was the FBI's conclusion. And I didn't make this point clear the other day with Posner. We talked round and round about this. And I was actually doing another show where I think with you where I didn't make this clear. Yeah, it was a show that you and I did actually, where you get into this question of did the Warren Commission lie? Really what the Warren Commission was put in position to do was rely on the FBI for all the investigation. They did a 5-volume work by December 9th, and they even screwed up a lot about the shooting sequence. And
I can't believe that.
Right. Okay. It was a rubber stamp type of thing, but it didn't mean that these staff attorneys like Arlen Specter, Burt Griffith, and others that were involved, David Bellin, it didn't mean that they weren't trying to do their best to investigate their individual. When they broke up the staff attorneys, it was like, all right, you got Ruby, you got Oswald's background, you got this, you got that. They went into all these different parts of the assassination. Mm-hmm. And they then used whatever the FBI had given them. And the FBI clearly kept things from the Warren Commission and its staff. So it was an incomplete investigation. And when I brought this up the other day, again, I think Earl Warren was playing the Patriots, like, let's rubber stamp this, move on because we don't want World War III. As I said, I think people like Richard Russell were probably indifferent. Screw it. I didn't like Kennedy anyway. I'm a segregationist for the South. I don't even want to show up for the Warren Commission hearings. So they're all over the map about really how much they care, but they were the ones that were doing the investigation. Yeah, it was probably an incomplete investigation, but I think they wanted to put it to bed. But Johnson's on this call with Hoover, who's really in charge of the entire investigation because the FBI is controlling it. And when Hoover in this phone, it's a recorded phone call. You can find it on YouTube. When he says, well, Mr. President, clearly this Oswald character, bad guy, bad intentions. He's the one firing the shots. What do you think Johnson then asked Hoover?
I don't know.
You think he was shooting at me? Do you think he was shooting at me? What does that sound like?
That he's concerned about his own life?
Yep. He might have been that egotistical, a lot of people say. But isn't that a strange question to ask if you're a part of a conspiracy to kill the president?
Yeah, I would. Yeah, okay. Yeah.
But again, he might have been doing it like, you know what? Some people are going to question where their eyes involved. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask the FBI director, hey, do you think I was in the crosshairs too? Oh, no, Mr. President. All right, so if it comes back later and somebody's like, hey, we think you did it, Johnson. He goes like, well, hell, I was even concerned that I wasn't a target. I even asked the FBI director. It's on a recording. I don't know, but it seems like a strange question. If I'm involved in spearheading the assassination of the guy that puts me in the head position, then it seems like a strange question to ask, was I also a target?
Are you familiar with the Book of Enoch?
Tell me more. I'm not. Tell me more.
The Book of Enoch is one of the books that was left out of what you would call a King James Version.
Okay, yeah. Okay, right.
Yeah. Do you know why they left it out?
Probably because it was bad press. I don't know.
No, because it would have called into question the rest of it.
Like the birth and resurrection of Christ?
I mean, a whole bunch of stuff in there. That the Book of Enoch, right. There's things in there that call to question a lot of stuff that's worshipped, if you want to call it that, in the Bible. So they had to leave it out. Okay. So how much evidence do you think the Warren Commission turned a blind eye to?
I don't know that they turned a blind eye or they were.
No.
Gosh, tell me what you mean by that question.
How much evidence do you think? And the reason I'm asking the question this way is because, say, for instance, there is some evidence or was some evidence put in front of them,
right,
that actually turned that focus away from the squirrel back onto them. Of course, they're going to leave it out. Of course.
I know they didn't go down. I know they didn't go down certain roads. Now,
why wouldn't they?
Okay, I'm getting ready to tell you one.
Okay.
All right. Sylvia Duran was the young lady at the in the Mexico City at the Cuban embassy that had contact with Oswald. Some researchers have said she even had a romantic affair with him. Excuse me. She maybe even had an affair with him, but there's apparently some contact she has with him that's pretty intimate. And she's taken into custody by Mexican officials after the assassination. She's still alive. And she's apparently roughed up a little bit or something like, what do you know about Oswald and whatever. So some members of that staff that are doing the investigation of the trip to Mexico City, which took place late September, early October of 1963, finishes about 2 weeks before he starts working at the school book depository. They're like, hey, we need to get to that Sylvia Duran young lady and find out what she knows. And they take it before Earl Warren because he has to approve the travel vouchers or whatever. He goes, no, we're not even going to talk to her. And they're like, but boss, like she had direct contact with Oswald. Maybe some of his intentions when he went to Mexico City, things he may have, and he's like, well, she's a communist. And she did. She was kind of a certainly extreme leftist type working at the embassy in Mexico City. And he goes, well, you can't trust communists. Now, it's in Philip Sheehan's book, A Cruel and Shocking Act. He talks about it pretty extensively. Well, that's what this whole book is great about. It gets into the inner workings of the Warren Commission. And he said some of the staff members like, Chief, what are you saying? But he may have come from a worldview. He may have actually come from a worldview. It's like, well, you can't talk to commies. Commies aren't going to tell you the truth. But he wouldn't approve it. Now, looking back, there's some real questions about. That would probably have been pretty prudent to try to find out what this young lady could have said, would have said, but they didn't even go down that road. Now, then again, conspiracy people could say, nah, Warren didn't want to go down there and sniff around down there because he might uncover something that's not going to play well for the conclusion. Let's get out of this, blame it on Oswald, move on, and don't go down roads that might give us more information because it might be roads that lead to bad information. Talk to me. What?
Remember, the whole term conspiracy theorist
CIA.
and theory were created by the CIA just for this reason.
For what reason?
Well, to get people, anyone who asks questions about what the official story is alleging, or they're saying that you put this label on them, conspiracy theorists.
It's a demeaning label, yes. Okay.
And you know that whole thing about conspiracy theorists, no, they're just fortune tellers because usually it ends up coming true. Okay, so they did that to get you to focus on the squirrel.
Who's they?
The CIA. They did that came up with this term, this label to get you to focus on the squirrel.
Are you going back to the squirrel? And I'm throwing to you that Earl warned as to it relates to the Sylvia Duran. What do you mean? How does that relate to the squirrel again?
Because you use the term conspiracy theorists say this.
Right.
No, they're just asking questions.
Okay. I'll stop. CP.
That's what I'm saying.
I'll start. Give me another term.
There's no other term.
The anti-Warren report people.
No, there's no anti or whatever. It is just a person just asking a question. What is wrong with asking the question?
Okay.
That's all. Don't put any labels on it.
Well, no, there are,
because how about this? I could use the same. I could use the same technique by saying the Oswald only people.
Yeah, and I think that's a reasonable thing to call certain people.
Because that's your perspective.
Sure.
Okay, but again, it's not either right or wrong.
No, I accept it, brother.
When you put a
right
label
when
on
I've
it
said
like
conspiracy theorists or anti-Warren Commission report or whatever, you're right. It's using a label. It's sometimes just shorthand. It's just shorthand. There are people that don't believe the Warren Commission got anything right. The date and time of the assassination that is in question. Are you really sure it was November 22, 63? Are you really sure it happened in Dallas just because the Warren Commission said so? So there are people that are extremely against it, and there are some that I think have lanes. I just brought out that I think it's a deficiency in the Warren report that Earl Warren didn't want the commission or its staff members to speak to Sylvia Duran. I think that's a huge thing. His motivation why might have been he really thought commies lie all the time, and it might have been some higher up said, no, cut that out right now. Because if we get down there and we start talking to somebody that had direct contact with Oswald in Mexico City, it might go down a road we can't go. I get it.
Wait, it might go down a road that we can't go that makes us look bad. So we just leave it out.
Well, you say look bad, make who look bad?
Them. Because
who's them?
Remember, right? I had said this before. It is these people will circle the wagons to protect their own agency.
All right.
They will do that. They will lie, cheat, and steal to do that. They do it all the time. It's hold on a second, man. It's part of the job. So for them to say,
but Earl Warren is wait a minute. Earl Warren is answering to the CIA.
Why wouldn't he?
I don't even think he's aware of the CIA.
What
evidence can you show me that CIA types are in there pushing him around?
Dude.
I told you the story of
I don't know if I said it last time. I got this bridge in Brooklyn.
You've tried the bridge in Brooklyn a lot.
Yeah,
actually, if you've said that before.
I have some oceanfont property in Oklahoma.
Oceanfront property, bridges in Brooklyn, whatever. I mean, what evidence you have that
if you don't think that those people,
who are those people?
That agency,
CIA,
it has unbelievable amounts of control over government officials.
All right, I just think.
You know what? How about this? Not just the CIA. Remember what you said about J. Edgar Hoover essentially having a file on just about everybody.
He had a file on everybody.
Washington,
There's no question about that.
Thank you. Then I don't have to go.
And the mob had a file on him.
I don't have to go any further. Then you're literally making my point.
I don't know what point
you're
you're
literally
making.
making my point. Are you being serious? Are you?
I'm being serious because you're saying that you seem to be saying that Earl Warren made a decision to cut out any contact with Sylvia Duran or any further investigation of her because the CIA leaned on him or Hoover leaned on him or whatever. What evidence do you have of that? That's all I'm
It
asking.
makes the no. Again, don't put this on me as to why or what was going through his head. You would have to ask the question, why wouldn't he want to interview her?
He said why. He said that communists lie.
We all know that's BS.
We
all
do?
know that's BS. Yeah,
we
do.
think that he couldn't have come
We
from
all,
a worldview
yes.
that.
Yeah, we all know that's BS.
Oh, and by the way, another cleanup in aisle 6. The other day when we did the show together, I said he was governor of Georgia. And when I saw that in the replay,
did?
I think, yeah, and I didn't even catch it until I watched it again. And I think Laura cleaned it up with some type of thing. But he was governor of California. I don't know. Yeah, I think in the rush the other day. But I was saying he was a World War I veteran. He was a true believer. He was the governor of California during World War II. And he was sort of a rising star. The guy that he always hated, Earl Warren, was Richard Nixon, because he kind of short-circuited his chance to be Eisenhower's vice presidential nominee. Nixon jumps in, and Nixon's young. Nixon's born in 1913. He's only 4 years younger than Kennedy. So he's a fairly young, he's less than 50. Right. So Warren is a much older man. So the throwback to Earl Warren of not being selected as the running mate for Eisenhower is they throw him this Supreme Court nomination, which Eisenhower later says was the worst mistake he ever made. Because he went far more liberal, and he loved Jack Kennedy. So Earl Warren cared about Kennedy, was kind of a very left of center. Well, he leaned more left as a Republican in that time, and he was from California. But anyway, I think he could have been a man from a time in history, given the nature of when he grew up and the war he was in, and, you know, the following World War II, and, you know, the change or basically the world structure following the Second World War. He may have been someone that genuinely thought if you bring a communist in to question them, they'll lie. That might be really what he believes, but I don't see any evidence that any other agency leaned on him. And I made that point too. I don't know how sincere this point was I made from the book, that when Dulles said, well, if you call Hoover in to give up information about a potential connection between Oswald and the FBI, he's only going to lie. And as I stated from Sheehan's book, Warren was, wait a minute, no, he won't lie. He's the director of the FBI. And Dulles is like, damn, I need to lie. Yeah.
Of course.
So I think
if both will lie, then why would you believe what they say?
Wait a minute. All right.
If the FBI would lie,
yeah,
and they're providing evidence to the Warren Commission.
Yeah.
CIA is providing evidence to the Warren Commission.
No, they're not. Oh. They're basically just snooping around, make sure that none of their CIA stuff comes out.
Oh. So they're going to delete stuff also.
No, they're just going to make sure
protect the agency.
All they did was protect the agency. Yes.
Okay.
They wanted to make sure.
Stuff. Yeah.
I don't know how much stuff. Maybe they burn files or shredded files. It's a time they can't just dump stuff from a computer. I don't know all the actions they took.
Yeah.
Charles, what I'm talking about is Earl Warren may have been the kind of governor, bureaucrat, soldier, and all the other things in his history that he truly believed in the whole American dream thing. And that's what I said in illustrating in that point that Sheehan illustrated in the book, A Cruel and Shocking Act. He's saying that when a former director of the CIA said that a good agency guy wouldn't tell the whole truth or any of the truth, he was genuinely shocked. I'm just saying that feeds that maybe he'd also be the guy that didn't want to speak to Sylvia Duran because he genuinely believed that commies couldn't be trusted to tell the truth. I don't know.
Well, again, I go back to Smedley Butler. Two-time owner of the Medal of Honor.
All right. I'm settle this for me now. I know.
Yeah.
Who am I confusing with the one that put out the fire where there was kind of a coup being run before FDR took over? There was some military.
Actually, he was asked to participate.
Right.
And
didn't he come clean to Congress? Didn't he? Right. But didn't he come before Congress and actually testify related to that?
I'm not exactly sure about that part.
Am I missing the story somehow? Okay. I thought
I just know that he was approached to do this,
right?
But he did protest when it came to the I'm going to screw this up. Oh, when the veterans from World War I didn't get their pensions, yes,
bonuses act,
the bonuses,
right?
So Smedley Butler again earned the Medal of Honor twice, and while he was earning those Medal of Honors, he thought he was doing the right thing. But later in life, he realized that, oh, I was just being lied to and used. I can't see why Earl Warren wouldn't have fallen into the same category.
Okay. Here's a little history. Smedley Butler was a highly decorated U.S. Marine Corps general who became famous both for his military career and for later criticizing American military intervention and corporate influence. Key facts. Born 1881, died 1940. He made the rank of Major General in the United States Marine Corps, one of the few Marines to receive the Medal of Honor twice. He served in the Spanish-American War, interventions in Central America and the Caribbean, the actions in China and Mexico. Later in life, Butler became sharply critical of war profiteering and U.S. foreign intervention. He died in 1940.
Right.
And, we're not even at post-World War II yet. He wrote the short but influential book, War is a Racket.
Right.
In it, he argued that corporations and financial interests often benefit. God, he's saying all this 20 years before Eisenhower on the way out. And
Right.
like I said, they're not even a post-war yet. He's also known for exposing the alleged business plot. Butler testified before Congress that wealthy businessmen had approached him in supporting a plan to challenge FDR. Historians still debate how serious and organized that plot was. That's what I thought. I thought there was a connection between Butler and testifying before Congress because there was a plot by someone to try to basically overthrow FDR as he came into office in 33. All right, so
Okay.
Butler.
Yeah, but
sounds
my
like
whole point.
Yeah.
My whole point is that while he was doing what he was doing, he thought he was doing it for good. He thought that
doing the things that he later criticized the government for doing.
Because he sort of he realized that he was just being used.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I'm sure a lot of soldiers have thought that.
I could see Earl Warren being the same way.
Oh, listen, the experience of having been put on the commission and being made being Chief Justice and being thrown into heading this commission, I'm sure he was a very upset person. They said it did a lot to his health. It really destroyed his health. It was a bad experience for him. He did not want to be in. He had his whole docket he had to deal with on the Supreme Court. He didn't think it was right. And I looked up too, Justice Jackson was never Chief Justice, but Justice Jackson, that served as the prosecutor in the Nuremberg trials, was also heavily criticized for leaving the country to be a prosecutor in these crimes of Nazi war criminals, etc. And he wasn't at his post as a member of the Supreme Court. And something else Earl Warren brought up, and it was very valid. What if he goes and does this work of the commission and they discover that there's some kind of conspiracy involved? And I'm not saying conspiracy theorists, I'm saying an actual conspiracy.
Right.
And then some people are charged. And then the charges go up the chain, and then there becomes some constitutional question. It reaches the Supreme Court, and he's basically out. He's going to be conflicted out because he served on the Warren Commission. I don't know that when he said
even better reason to put him up there.
Well, he said that. He goes, this whole thing could end up. Yeah, Oswald's dead, but we don't know what path it's going to take. Do I think it's possible that Earl Warren wanted to just shut this down as a national interest and move on with everyone's life? Yeah, I think that's possible.
I don't.
He said the truth was our only client, though. He did say that the truth is our only client.
I don't think that it was just him. I'm not going to lay all this on him to say that he was just this great person on the Warren Commission that didn't want to drag the country through this stuff. That excuse has been used a bunch when actually the country should have been dragged to figure out why this happened and to bring to justice the people who are involved. Sometimes you have to put the country through it because technically they did. They're putting the country through things. It has to stop. I could use the Epstein situation right now. We all know that if these names come out and these people go to jail, which they should, a lot of entities, agencies, or whatever, they're going to collapse. But do we let it continue? If this is a country of, justice for all, they need to go to jail.
All right.
else we continue having the same problems that we have. And this goes back to the Kennedy situation. Don't don't use or try to get me to believe that you're keeping this from me just for my own good. Now I'm really asking questions now, because how do you know what's my own, what exactly is my own good?
Okay. I'm saying, and I said it in the last show, and we're spinning this whole thing around again. We've gotten really deep into the inner workings of Earl Warren or whatever. I mean, it's just one person put in a position that he was put in. But what I'm saying is, I could understand, and this is what some historians have said, and I think it kind of makes some sense. And I think historians see things differently than military personnel, agency heads, and all the rest. Historians try to go in, but they have their bias as well. They're going to have a particular bias and probably try to push a particular narrative. They have their heroes, they have their villains. They like certain people, they like certain things, and some things they don't. But I can see where some historians have said that waking up on the morning of November 23rd, just before Oswald's dead, there already maybe concerns that, how do we know this isn't the Soviet Union? How do we know? My dad was in the military at the time. He goes, the whole military apparatus was on the move. People were getting called out of reserves back into service. You know, they were moving. The troops were moving, because a killing like this of Kennedy, nobody knows what the hell this is about. They don't know.
That's understandable.
And especially when they find out Oswald has a connection to the Soviet Union, had lived there, had been a Marine, had been at Asugi Air Base in Japan, where they flew the U-2s. Francis Gary Powers was shot down in 1960. That's one of the first things people, wait a minute, did he give up some technology? Now, I understand later, this is what I understand from some of my research, the Soviet Union already knew about the U-2. There wasn't anything Oswald gave up, but there was concerns because, you know, when's he coming out of the Soviet Union? About 1959, or I'm sorry, he's going in 59. He's getting out of the Marine Corps going in. Then it's funny how right before a summit between Eisenhower and Khrushchev in the spring of 1960, Francis Gary Powers is shot down. I think he's a Virginia native too. And then it's kind of like Khrushchev calls him out. I think it was a UN calling out that was basically like, yeah, tell us that you don't have a U-2. You know, it's basically putting the U.S. with, are you going to admit that you have this plane that we shot down, this high level? And it put the U.S. on the not only defensive, it kind of was an embarrassing situation because they had the remains of the plane. They knew damn well that they'd shot this thing down. They wanted to see if the U.S. would come clean. So there's all these problems that come about. So when Oswald's found, a lot of people go to, wait a minute. This cat was in the Marine Corps where they flew the U-2, and this thing happened in 1960. How deep does this go with this guy? So all that being said, then on the 24th, when Oswald's killed, now Oswald's eliminated. You can understand where some people are like, wait a minute, if we shake enough bushes and go down enough roads, we might find out and unlock that there are some sinister forces around the world behind the death of our president. And to tell the American public the truth could lead to a 50 million death World War III exchange of nuclear weapons, etc. That's a real thing. That's a real thing where you could understand where people in powerful positions were like, it's best we cover this over. Oswald's dead. Make him the single shooter. Move on. Let's not have World War III. That doesn't necessarily.
It's very convenient.
All right. But will you not at least accept that that's a reasonable possibility?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I said the last show we did.
Yeah. On the hierarchy of possibilities, I think they were way more concerned about what would happen here if it was found out that we got rid of a president because we wanted to make money.
No doubt.
So,
no doubt. Cover up for
question.
two different reasons. Yeah.
Which is I'm not going to say which would have been more likely. Which would have been more devastating? Well, if we're using nuclear weapons, obviously that's devastating. Okay, so, but which would have been worse for our country?
To find out the CIA was behind it.
Exactly. So which one do you think they would have tried their damnedest to cover up the most?
Well, there is another lane that people have discussed. It could have been members of the CIA that were willing to act in this way, and it wasn't from the head. I've even heard that Bobby Kennedy, God, was it Robert McClone? What was the name of? I got to check this because it's going to drive me crazy. There was the now CIA director that Kennedy named after Dulles, and I understand in the hours after the assassination, Bobby Kennedy looked right at him and said, "Did you guys kill my brother?"
I wonder
So,
why I would ask that.
yeah. And if that's true, that now he also apparently was quoted as saying that I knew they were going to get one of us. I thought they'd get me. And that was some of the also taking on the mob. Maybe the mob would get me. They wouldn't get Jack. And then there's the argument that the mob said, well, when you want the dog out, you don't cut off its tail, you cut off its head. So,
Okay.
and there was supposed to be the argument that it was some mob figure, I think, said after the Kennedy death, well, now Bobby Kennedy's just another lawyer. He was attorney general under his brother,
Right.
but he wasn't so important. So it was take out Jack Kennedy. Then there's a whole argument that Bobby Kennedy in running 68 was like, hey, if I get back into presidency, or if I get back into the White House, I work there kind of with my brother. If I get back there, I'm going to open up the whole investigation back into my brother's death. Then June 5, LA.
Yeah, he's got to go.
And he's got to go.
Yeah.
Because he's going to kick that can again, and you're not supposed to do that. So
right, you're not supposed to open up, not kick the can. You're not open up.
Disturb the bee's nest, whatever you want to call it. It
Right.
was McCone. So John McCone served as the director of the Central Intelligence Agency from November 29, 61 to April 28, 65. He followed the Allen Dulles resignation, and I do believe he was the one that Bobby Kennedy reportedly said, hey, did you guys kill my brother? So it might have been on his mind for sure. Now, there are also arguments that he rubber stamped the Warren Commission because he knew better, and he knew better to make waves at the time. He never really examined it. He never really studied. He never really cared, but he told the American public, like, yeah, I agree with what the Warren Commission said.
I believe that they could get anybody to do anything. Really.
They again, when you say universally across the show, you mean CIA.
No, I'm going to say not just CIA.
Yeah.
Remember, the FBI had files on everybody too, so I'm not going to just say.
Well, Hoover had
CIA.
files on everybody, yeah.
Oh, well, he wasn't sharing it. Well, how did he get the files?
No, actually, I think it was a directive.
Did he go out there and do it himself?
I think there was a directive he gave his secretary. I'd have to research this. I can't remember where I saw this. That upon his death, go to my office and clear all the files.
Okay. Yeah. Again.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted anybody else in the FBI to have his files or even knowledge that there were files.
I'm sure that he didn't go out there and get them himself.
No, there's no doubt he had an apparatus to get it, but they were in his personal possession, in his drawer, and it was like, hey, Senator, whoever, wouldn't it be a real tragedy if the American public knew about your affair with, or, hey, well, the story is, he called Jack Kennedy in and told him, I got the goods on you. And I think Bobby was a part of this meeting. They were supposed to have had a famous meeting. And he flat told Jack Kennedy, I got the goods on you. And he's been putting together that file since he was in Congress, from the time in the House through the Senate. He had a file on him the whole time because he had a file on everybody.
Right. He had a,
but that was personal. That was personal. I wouldn't say it didn't become in effect an FBI directive, or it wasn't, what's the term I'm looking for? It wasn't a feature of the FBI because he was director. But again, I said everybody, there were forces out there that had stuff on him too. Now, again, I've said it before. Meyer Lansky was supposed to be the boss that had a bunch of pictures of Hoover in compromising positions with another man. Mm-hmm. And that was and I said this in the last show, that's why supposedly when Bobby Kennedy went in and put his war on the mob, that Hoover had always been, what mob? There's no mob. I don't see a mob. Do you think there's really a mob? Right. And I even heard a guy that was a FBI agent from 51 until 1980. I saw him on a documentary. I remember the years. I'll never forget it. And he said he was in a morning session of his indoctrination into the school, the FBI Academy. And he's in the hallway with the guy and he goes, hey, when are we going to get into mob stuff? And the guy goes, shut up. And he goes, what? He goes, there is no mob. You don't say that in the FBI. Like literally. He's like, in 51, he's in training. And he said, did they do a thing on organized crime or the mob? And this other fellow classmate or somebody else in this position of education yelled like, no, we don't say that. We don't say the mob word. Now, if that's true or not, I don't know. But he said once he got in, he realized that's not anything they really sniffed around on. They weren't ever really going after the mob.
So they turned a blind eye to it.
But in large part because Hoover knew what they had on him.
Yeah, there's so many people that have so much stuff on them, that they're, again, willing to turn a blind eye to quote unquote justice.
Sure, that's just
I
survival.
don't, yeah, again, man, that's why I say I'm not really worried about Oswald. That's exactly why I say that, because there's a whole bunch of people that were really literally trying to survive, and Kennedy was a roadblock.
See, I don't disagree with that's what makes it such an intriguing case, even 60 plus years later, is you can see why the mob wanted him dead. You can see why the military industrial complex wanted him dead.
Hold on.
Why anti-Castro Cubans wanted him dead. There's
Well,
10 I can list off the top of my head that want Kennedy
right.
dead.
And all of them had the capability of killing him.
Sure.
Okay. That's what
But
we're saying.
Oswald did it. So I'm saying
Yeah.
that it's still upon you to prove what the connection to, if you accept that Oswald fired the shots. And again, all the conspiracy theorists, and I'm not using that in the negative, just to identify all the people that started with Mark Lane started with, he couldn't possibly do the shooting. And that's what I bought into as a teenager. Then I started going, the more I study this, the more I see not only do I think it happened that way, it's the only way it could have happened. So now you got Oswald being potentially the shooter. So now it's incumbent upon whoever says, oh, I know it's one of these organizations. Then what's the connection to Oswald?
He's dead. And that is.
So who killed him?
Oh, no, well, hold on. The problem, I shouldn't say problem. There's a reason that you killed the assassin. We all know that. This is no different than all the other hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times that assassins have been killed themselves.
And what's
we all
that
know
reason?
why they do
Shut him up?
No, because you can't interview the assassin to ask them.
I just
or
said
to get
shut
any
him
information
up is
out
the
of
reason. What you're saying is shorthand is shut him up.
Yeah.
Okay,
yes,
so Oswald's dead. All right, what about Ruby?
He died too.
He died 3 years later, roughly.
Okay.
Actually, about 2 years later, really. Yeah. No, 3 years. 3 years later. That's January 67.
The first time that, when Oswald died, I'm sure anybody with two brain cells that rub together would say, as they depicted in the movie JFK, you got to get rid of the assassin. Yeah, you got to get rid of him. You got to start cutting it off right there, because that's the last person you want to stay alive. The last person.
Okay, could Ruby talk?
So that's why. I'm sorry?
Could Ruby talk?
Ruby probably could talk, but all he knows is, we need you to go kill this guy because you owe a lot of money.
He knows who told him to do it, right?
That could have been anybody. That could have been anybody. That could have been anybody in the mob. Okay. That could have been anybody in this, and more than likely it was somebody in the mob. More than likely,
right?
Okay, but again, the mob didn't want to be chased by Bobby. Okay, I get that. That doesn't mean that the other entities still didn't have anything to do with it, right?
Why didn't Ruby shoot Oswald Friday night?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, if somebody needs,
but he did though.
No, he shot him Sunday.
Okay, but he
had a weapon.
He did shoot him.
He was in the presence of Oswald Friday night. Why didn't he kill him?
Was he able to get a gun through wherever he was at?
He had a gun in his pocket. He always had the gun. This is 1963. There's no metal detector at the door.
That's true.
And he gets in and says he's with Jewish press or something. He's Israeli press, and he gets in. Everybody thinks he's part of the press team. Some people think he's law enforcement because he's always got a suit and tie. So, we've talked about this. Sunday morning, when is Oswald supposed to be moved? What time?
You asked me again. Remember, man.
What time does Ruby shoot Oswald? 11:21.
Again, I don't focus on Oswald, man, so I don't know any of these questions.
The problem we have is there were members of the Dallas Police Department, namely Jim Lavelle, who's one of the detectives, that tells Jesse Curry, the chief of police, you got to move him in the middle of the night. Nah, we got to let the press see him because they're going to think we're beating him up and all this kind of stuff. So he wants to make this press thing. And he says, if you're there by 10 o'clock, you won't miss the move, implying we're going to move him by 10 o'clock. So get there early. And if you're there by 10, you won't miss it. So that morning, a member of the post office service in Dallas, Texas, drops his wife off at church and goes, you know what, son of a gun, I got some more questions for Oswald. Goes back and holds him up. Meantime, Ruby's in his apartment at 9:30 in his boxer shorts and gets a call from Little Lynn, who's one of these strippers who didn't get paid Friday night because he shut down the Carousel Club. And she goes, Jack, I got a problem. I didn't get the dollar bills the other night, so I need money for rent and I got to buy groceries. And what does he do? He's like, yeah, I'll get in the car in a few minutes and I'll go to the Western Union Telegraph office and I'll wire you the money, which he does at 11:17 a.m. He's behind three people. He's not in a rush. He waits patiently. He goes up, comes out the door, got his dog Sheba in his car. He's got his pistol on him. He carried large amounts of money, carried the pistol all the time. He sees a commotion down the street. He walks down, goes down the ramp, shoots Oswald at 11:21. If that's a planned hit, if somebody has him put up to doing the hit, should he not be not in his boxers at 9:30 in the morning, not yet out and about, dressed and ready to go? If Oswald's going to be moved at 10 o'clock, isn't that a risky thing for a put up hitman to do, to hang around his apartment that late?
Yeah, I agree with you.
So that is a monkey wrench in the whole idea that he was put up to it. Now, I know a whole group of people, or I've heard these people say, no, that was all done. The whole going to the Western Union, that was to create a cover story for later. The cops held him. They're in contact with Jack Ruby, like, Jack, you need to get on the move. Now, I will say my buddy, and I've told you about this, my buddy in Minnesota got an opportunity to went to dinner with Jim Lavelle, the tall detective that was handcuffed to Oswald. And he said, what did you think of this whole thing? And he said, I can't understand why people are still talking about it. I thought 6 weeks later, everybody would let it go. And this guy lived to be 99. And this is like when he's in his early 90s. And he said, do you believe that Ruby acted alone? He goes, yeah, I knew Jack. Jack was nutty as fruitcake, blah, blah, blah. And then he made this point. He said, when we had him in lockup moments after the shooting, I said, Jack, what the hell were you thinking? He was like, oh, I'm going to be a hero. He thought he was going to be, I thought everybody would like me doing this. And there was a thought that he did it as much. Well, he said he did it to spare Jackie Kennedy a trial, and all that stuff has been said. But also it may not have been so ill received by the Dallas police because one of their own had been apparently shot by Oswald Tippit.
Right.
But anyway, he said, well, how the hell did you get in there? And this is what my buddy said. He said, I thought it was fascinating. They took a large, like Brinks truck, armored truck, down that ramp. So the ramp comes from the Commerce side. It comes from the main side. It goes down and under and through. And when they got part of the way down, they ran into some kind of air conditioning unit or some type of an air ventilation system. And they're like, we can't get the truck all the way. So they're in these moments where they're getting ready to bring Oswald out. And they're realizing they're going to have to back that truck out. And they got a patrol car right behind it. So the patrol car has to roll out. The guy that was manning the entrance to the ramp has to back up into the street and wave that car back and then get the truck out. So Lavelle, when he asked Ruby, according to this friend of mine, Jack, how the hell did you get in? He goes, well, so-and-so officer was in the car. He got it right. And when I saw him back up, I saw this other officer that Ruby knew go out into the street to direct traffic, and he nailed that officer as well. He said the guy that was in the police car and the guy that was the guy that was manning the door. He goes, and when that guy backed out to direct traffic, I slipped down the ramp. So Lavelle told this friend of mine, he's like, it made sense to me because Ruby absolutely positively identified the two cops. He knew them both. So if that's true, I don't know why the gentleman would have been lying to him. He's like, well, that's what convinced me that Jack just slipped down the ramp, walks down, sees Oswald come out. He breaks through the press that are there, and, everybody's in a suit and tie. Then he breaks through. He has on the fedora. He goes up, bang, kills Oswald. Does it look like a hit? Yes, it does. Does it make everybody suspect it's something else? But the bottom line is there's a world clock timestamp of his transmission of the money, the wiring of the money to Little Lynn at 11:17. 4 minutes later, he shoots Oswald. They walked. The police walked the distance from one to the other, and the average was 90 seconds, minute and a half. Go ahead.
So where'd the money come from?
Where did what money come from?
The Western Union. You said it was a Western Union transfer, right?
Yeah.
Where'd it come from?
Ruby.
And who did it go to?
Little Lynn, the stripper that lived in Fort Worth. she needed money because she didn't get paid Friday night because he shut down the Carousel Club. So she could.
Okay.
Then George Senator. Okay, then to finish the story, George Senator's living with Ruby, and he tells the Warren Commission, "Yeah, the guy's sitting in his boxers at 9:30. Phone rings, and he goes, "Yeah, it's Jack. What can I do for you?" He goes, "Hey, Jack, this is Little Lynn, one of his strippers. I didn't get paid Friday and Saturday night because over this Kennedy thing. Yeah. I shut down the Carousel Club. It's a classy thing to do. Well, I ain't got no money, Jack, and I got to pay rent and I need groceries. All right. I'll get out of here in a few minutes and I'll take $25 and wire it to you." So then he got in his car, put on his suit, and took his dachshund, his little dog, the female Sheba that he referred to as his wife. And there were people that knew him said there's no way he would have put that dog in the car if he thought he was going to be arrested later for shooting at Oswald. And he said, Ruby, people can believe it or not, that when he came out, he looked and went, what's going on down there? He sees the people, he sees the cars, police cars, and then he decides to walk. And he told his rabbi, dumbest thing I ever did. I had this feeling that when I came back outside, I just needed to get in the car and leave. But when I saw these people outside, I decided, I think I'm going to walk down there and see what's going on, which led to curiosity, down the ramp, shoots Oswald. If it's a planned hit, he's not on the scene at 10 a.m. But again, it's a whole group of people. I've seen a whole thing where it's, the police were in on it. And they're like, Jack, all right, we're going to make it look like you went to Western Union. Create that cover story. Then we're going to give you a signal. Yep, come on down. I don't know. Is that possible? Absolutely. But there's system of windows and lights and windows, and it told him when to go and when to be there. Or randomly, he went to Western Union, arrived and waited for 3 people to complete transactions without rushing, without making a sound. There were 3 people that told the Warren Commission, yes, he was in line behind us. He didn't seem to be in a hurry. The guy that's working the Western Union office said, guy didn't seem to be in a hurry. I completed the transaction 11:17, time-stamped it, and he walked out. Didn't seem to be in a hurry. I don't know. If there's some other orchestrated thing to give him a cover story, okay. Prove it to me. I don't know. I'm just saying that's an awful strange coincidence that he's there 4 minutes prior to the shooting at the Western Union, walks 90 seconds, and then walks right down, and then identifies to Detective Lavelle. Yeah, I remember the cop that backed the car out, and I recognize the officer that worked the traffic. So what do you got for me on all that? Because we're going to wrap up.
I'm trying
here.
to think of the guy's name right now.
Okay.
Who's that guy that wrote the book about MK Ultra?
Oh, I don't know.
I mean, he was on the Joe Rogan podcast.
Okay.
And he wrote a really, really famous book about it. And he was the one that actually turned me on to the psychiatrist that Oswald had seen. I'm not Oswald. That Ruby had seen. Sirhan. Gosh, what is the? I can't remember the name of the book, man. It's right at the tip of my tongue.
Stephen Kinzer?
Too. I don't think it's Stephen Kinzer. No, that name doesn't sound familiar.
Okay, that's the first book that it's okay.
That's not it. Gosh, I can't remember the guy's name, but he talked about the person. As a matter of fact, he brought this up during a podcast. If anyone who has seen Band of Brothers, there is one of the officers in Easy Company ended up being the prosecutor in L.A. who
Vincent
tried.
Bugliosi. Vincent Bugliosi is the one that prosecuted Manson.
It's another. He did something else. Okay. The one who prosecuted Sirhan.
Oh. I can't find that out.
Buck Compton. Yeah, his name Buck Compton was the guy. Regardless, and anyway, he was telling a story about MK Ultra, that the first instance that was, let's just say, made popular was in the 50s when some airman was out in the woods and he didn't know what had happened, but they're like, dude, you just killed somebody. You're like, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, that's kind of sort of, and come to find out, this psychiatrist is involved in that too.
Right.
And there are people, I'm going to put on my tinfoil hat here real quick. There are people that are saying that they had developed a a technique to get people to go kill other people and they not remember a thing, nothing.
Yeah.
And some, again, people who have thicker tinfoil hats than the one I'm wearing right now would say that Jack Ruby was one of them, but I don't believe that. I just don't.
I don't know.
I personally don't believe that one. I believe that he was paid off to do it. He wanted to be kind of like a Henry Hill guy, whereas he was mob adjacent.
Yeah.
He couldn't be made, obviously, because obviously he wasn't Sicilian, but he would pretty much do whatever they wanted him to do.
Yeah, I think he might have
And
been a lower level mob figure. One thing I will
yeah,
say that is one account that I've heard that I think feeds what you're saying is that he became kind of a health nut at some level. He never drank. He was not a drinker. And he came up with a twist device to exercise, and he was trying to sell that all the time. So the argument is, I think he kicked smoking. He wasn't a drinker, kind of got into exercise, supposed to be for that time frame, sort of a health nut adjacent, call it that.
okay.
And that when he got brought in after shooting Oswald, they put Oswald on the floor, then they bring Oswald back out, put him on an ambulance. The O'Neill people take him out again, I believe the same ones that moved Kennedy. And then they've rushed Jack Ruby into a room. And the story is they put him like in a holding cell. And while he's in the holding cell, he's sweating profusely. And he asked one of the guards, one of the sheriffs, or one of the police department, "Hey, you got a cigarette?" And they're like, "Jack, you don't smoke." And he goes, "Yeah." And he starts like chain smoking a couple of cigarettes.
Mm-hmm.
Then Oswald's pronounced dead at 107. He shoots him at 11:21. He's pronounced dead at 107. So the word back, and some of the police, of course, escorted the ambulance to Parkland Hospital. So now the word's coming back that Oswald's dead. So the story is supposed to be, the one account I've heard, one of the officers come in, "Well, Jack, it's murder one now, buddy. You shot him and he just died, and you're going to get electrocuted. You're going to get the electric chair." And they said he stopped smoking the cigarettes and went into complete calm. He completely calmed down. Now the argument has been that supports this account is that the mob figures came by and said, "Jack, I think we're going to need you to kill Oswald." "Oh, I don't want to get involved in that." Well, he was very close to his sister. Don't think he had the same relationship with his brother, but he was supposed to be really close to his sister. So the argument was, they said something like, "How about this? If Oswald's not dead by tomorrow, maybe your sister will be." Now,
Oh, wow.
right. So if that's fair, that's a possibility. Then you could see where he was sweating profusely, chain smoking cigarettes, and then bam, they come in and say, "Hey, Jack, murder one." Whew, I just saved my sister's life. Who the hell
Mm-hmm.
knows? I mean, that is an argument that he did become uncommonly calm after he found out that Oswald died. And now he's going to get hit with the murder one charge. Seems like that's kind of strange to be quite upset as the guy gets carted out. You would think he would be like, "Boy, I sure hope this guy doesn't die, or I'm going to get the electric chair."
Yeah, that
But
doesn't even make any
instead,
sense.
he becomes calm upon finding that he did die. You can understand
Oh,
his
okay. I see that basically they was like, you need to go kill him.
right.
And he wasn't dead yet. And it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
Oh
that's the
boy.
whole argument about why
Okay.
he did it. Was the mob figures came by and said, "You need to kill Oswald for us. Please, please don't make me do something like that." It's Oswald or your sister. Which one's it going to be? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So now once he fires the shot, doesn't know if it's a fatal shot. As a matter of fact, it has been said, though, as it entered the left part of his abdomen and worked across his body. He couldn't hit more vital organs other than the heart. I mean, it was a pretty bad shot. And Oswald dies at 107. So from between 11:21 to 107, he's dead.
Okay.
Now, again, that would feed a pretty reasonable response that it's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sweating. Oh my gosh, give me a cigarette. Because if this guy doesn't die, my sister's dead." Hey, guess
Right.
what, Jack? Murder one. Whew, okay, calm back down. Because now at least my sister's spared. That is the argument that I have heard. That was the account of some of the officers.
The name of the book is Chaos.
Yeah,
by
okay,
Tom
I saw
O'Neill.
it. Yep, Tom O'Neill. Yep, I saw
Yeah.
that among the ones. Yeah.
Yeah, that whole psychiatrist thing, man, it is really, really interesting. Why has this guy talked to all the people Hinckley also.
Yeah, if the one
Hinckley's son.
guy's involved with all those, it would seem. And one other thing about
Yeah.
Sirhan too, if I'm not mistaken, he was like 5'6" and 125 pounds, or 130 or something like
Right.
that. And Rosie Greer, played with the New York Giants and then played with the Los Angeles Rams, was a very famous and well-loved NFL star. He and Rayford Johnson, who was the decathlon winner with 1960 Olympics, I think, the two of them kind of rode shotgun for Bobby Kennedy. They were both in the Bobby Kennedy campaign. And Rosie Greer was 6'5", 300 pounds, played defensive tackle during that era. Big guy. So when the shooting starts, he sees Sirhan has the weapon. And according to his account, I go to grab the weapon from this little guy. And this is Rosie Greer, 6'5", 300. And I cannot get this guy to let go of the gun. And he's raining shots. And I think it was a 10-shot 22 revolver. Check that, I think. And then there was like 13 shots accounted for. And Bobby Kennedy is shot behind the right ear. It's a brain shot. It's a shot that enters behind his right ear and does the brain damage that leads to his death. And none of the people that witness this ever see Sirhan get behind Bobby Kennedy. He's always shooting straight on. But when Greer was talked to about it, he goes, I'm trying to get this gun from this 5'6", 120 some odd pound guy. And I cannot pry this gun. I've never seen a human being that strong in any moment. Then that is part of this argument, that when he was interviewed, I think by the first team of attorneys, it might've been in his defense. He's like, I don't even know what you guys are talking about. And they seem sincere. Then they go into his possessions and they find that Bobby Kennedy must die. Bobby Kennedy must die. Bobby Kennedy. He's writing out all this stuff. And it kind of gives that same type of profile of different handwritings, different times. He seems to be a different person, split personalities, whatever. But there are people that believe he truly did not believe he did it. Or he didn't even know what they were talking about. And that, plus what Greer's saying about some guy in a trance-like state with superhuman power. I don't know what this guy's on, but I can't get the pistol from him. So that's another whole, that's another whole, gosh, I am absolutely convinced there's a lot of hanky-panky in the Bobby Kennedy death, without question.
I think that the JFK was just a precursor or a test run.
Well, it could have been two brothers who messed with the wrong people.
I could go with that too.
Yeah. I mean, there is the fact that, this is something that Posner and I talked about the other day. There's no question Jack Kennedy was having extramarital affairs with many women, including Judith Campbell at that time. And she was sleeping with a guy named Sam Giancana. And it's pretty good evidence that there was messages being sent back and forth. So the old man, Joseph Kennedy, definitely had mob connections. And there are those that say that he funding his son's election in 1960, mobsters in Chicago were involved, and clearly the Teamsters Union was involved in West Virginia. And those were two important states for him to win. And the feeling was, there was a whole book that came out. It was Sam Giancana's godson. He was the nephew of Sam Giancana. The book was titled Double Cross. And in that, he says everybody in the business knew the mob wanted him out because Jack Kennedy, in effect, and Bobby Kennedy had double crossed the mob. It's like, hey, help me win the presidency. You're going to back off, right? And then Bobby Kennedy increases prosecutions against the mob by 700%. So you got Hoover going into that administration. Mob? What mob? I don't see a mob. I don't even see it. He's going after communists at every turn. Everybody's a communist. Then Bobby Kennedy comes in and goes after the mob. And our good friend made a good point too. Have you ever seen that video where Bobby Kennedy is saying to Sam Giancana, Mr. Giancana, are you giggling? I thought little girls giggled. Did you ever seen that video? Now that was when Jack Kennedy was in the Senate. And our mutual friend there made a good point. He goes, you don't do that to mob guys. That might have been his demise. And then Carlos Marcello in New Orleans is actually picked up on violations of immigration and dropped in Guatemala for dead. And he makes it back to the U.S. and he swears vengeance against the Kennedys, namely Bobby. So the whole mob angle, and G. Robert Blakey, chief counsel to the House Select Committee, he's the father of the RICO statutes. He served with Bobby Kennedy in the Justice Department. He always thought it was the mob. He wrote a book, Plot to Kill the President. It was the mob. Could have been the mob in conjunction with the CIA because they had similar interests. And back to what you said the other day, they want the mob wants Cuba back where the casinos were, and the CIA had a mutual interest. It's all there. There's a lot of mutual interest.
Yes.
But it's still, you have to explain Oswald. You have to explain the shooting. Once you have the shooting down,
I don't.
Yes, you do.
No.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Nope. Sorry. I'm sorry. You're not going to try to pigeonhole me with this. I'm not even going down that road. You literally just made my point. And that's all I have to say.
I don't think I made anybody's point. I said that
You
there's
just
all
said
kinds
there's a whole bunch of people that
No.
wanted him dead.
Yes,
Okay.
and that means, but you're a logical man. You're one of the brightest people I know. Charles, it is very possible that lots of forces want a man dead, and another guy slips in without any other contact and does it by himself. You have to destroy that to get to where you are.
No, I know.
No, you
because
do.
they're not.
No,
No.
you do.
Dude, they're not. No, I don't, man. I really don't.
All right. Let's imagine, gosh, I hate to go this route, but let's imagine there are 8 of your surrounding neighbors that have all kinds of interest in taking out one of your neighbors.
Yeah.
They all have gone in the streets. I don't like this. Is terrible, but they all say it. And then a guy comes in from another village that has nothing to do with your neighborhood and kills him. And then the police come in and investigate all the people who have said all kinds of terrible things about the neighbor that everyone knew they wanted to take out.
Right.
Would you not then look to see if the guy from the other village had any connection to all the people that ran their mouth about wanting the guy dead? Or would you just say, doesn't matter. It has to be all the guys in the other houses. Because they talk. Okay.
No, literally, that's what we're saying. That unfortunately,
the guy from the other village can't come in on his own and kill the guy without connection.
Hold on.
That's not possible?
I'm not going to say that it's not possible. What I'm going to say is it is more possible or more likely that the guy who came in from the other village knew what was going on in my neighborhood and had some ties to one of my neighbors.
All the thing that's all projection of what you think is most likely. But if you don't
you're asking.
No, I know, but I'm saying, would you not have to connect the killer to someone in the neighborhood to get a conviction against anyone in the neighborhood? Or would you just say, well, it has to be the neighborhood because they all wanted him dead and this guy came in and did it, so it has to be him. He has to have been involved.
And I would say that more than likely the neighbors would try their damnedest to get rid of that. So they would get
away with it the same way the apparatus did, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
But you still don't have a connection between Oswald and the apparatus. You're just assuming.
And that's why you kill the assassin. That's exactly why.
No, I don't disagree with anything you're saying there. I don't. No, but I'm just saying from a standpoint of logic, you would have to concede the point that Oswald could have gone to his wife the night before and said, baby, come back. And she would have said yes. And he would have gone, okay, I'll leave the rifle here. I'll go back to work and forget all this. And then Posner made the point the other day, which is true. Had he made it to Cuba, you're doing the face. If he made it to Cuba back in September, October, if they had said, yeah, go on, he wouldn't have been in Dallas in November.
No, I'm good. I agree with that.
So then somebody else would have done it. I think that's possible.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Did that rifle have a scope on it?
Yes.
Okay. So I could say, I mean, we've thrown all this out there. I could say that on his way up to drop the rifle off, he could have slipped going up the steps and knocked the scope off sight. I could say that too.
Well, the scope was found to be The scope was found to be misaligned.
Hold on,
but what did he also do after the shooting? Most likely, he threw it between a stack of boxes and misaligned it.
Dude, my whole point is,
what's the point
we
of
can sit here and say all these hypotheticals about woulda. That's my whole point of saying what I just said. You can say that all day long. My point is that he has a tie to one of those agencies that wanted him dead.
I think that there are arguments for that kind of sound
it's
somewhat
not arguments.
plausible.
He has a tie to one of those agencies who wanted him dead.
Which one is that?
The CIA.
You know that Oswald has a connection to the CIA.
Dude.
Show it to me then. Just show it to me. Stop hiding it. If you know it, show it to me.
No, man. Like I said earlier, just because you don't carry an ID card that
Yeah.
says CIA on it? Or how about this? Just because you don't carry a card that says Mossad on it, you work with them.
Okay, just show it to me. I'm fine with that.
No. Listen, again, what did I do? What did I just say? You don't have to have an ID card that says CIA or Mossad, whatever on
Charles
it.
has agreed to assume, or he has agreed in his own mind, that Oswald has a direct connection to the CIA, while Charles cannot possibly show that because he has the out of saying, well, they don't carry
That's
cards.
the point, that they don't
Right.
they don't have them directly work. That's the whole point. It's called plausible deniability, man.
Okay.
That's why they do that.
Okay. All
I
right.
mean, goodness gracious,
I
right?
can't
If you think that
accept.
it's going to be a direct, if you really believe there's going to be a
No.
direct, his name was on the application, he's
No.
got an ID card.
I'm
It doesn't work that way.
I am
man.
conceding to you that it's possible that Oswald had a connection to the CIA where it is impossible to prove that connection. But that's all I can say.
But
is
that's why they do that, man. That's my
Well,
whole
I don't
point.
know. You're saying you're speaking for the CIA. I don't know that you've served in the CIA. You probably know some people that have been in the CIA. I don't know. Or you read some good books. You read some John Grisham novels. Or something.
No, listen
No,
to
he
what
didn't
I'm
really
saying,
write
man.
about the CIA.
Listen to what I'm
did he?
saying.
Yeah. Tell me
Listen
what
to
you're saying.
It doesn't work the way that you, obviously, it doesn't work the way that you think that it works.
What do you want?
don't-
No. What way do you think
Let
I
me
think
finish,
it
man.
works?
You think that there's always going to be on paper a direct
No,
a
hell
direct link.
no. I just
Then you're
conceded
making
the
my point,
point
then.
that Oswald could have been involved with the CIA with no way to detect it. I just said that.
Okay,
But
so
in
why are you
saying
asking
that-
me to prove? Why are you asking me to give you
Because
evidence
you're
of
making
it,
an
then?
assertion that there was a connection that you can't prove.
Dude, if you're going to sit here and say that you're already agreeing that
I'm
they
agreeing
will
it's
cover up
possible.
whatever that they will cover up whatever connection they
I didn't
have.
say what they'll do because I don't know. I don't work within the CIA.
Well, I can tell you they will. Okay,
Okay,
they will
you tell
do
me
that.
they will.
And for this reason, man.
Yeah.
For anybody, dude, anybody who thinks that these people are not going to tie up, or should I say, these loose ends. Again, I have some oceanfront property in Oklahoma to sell you.
So what you're saying, I just want to make sure that I'm clear on what you're saying. What you're saying is Oswald was certainly an operative of the Central Intelligence Agency.
I'm going to
without
say
question.
I'm going to say it's way more evidence that he was than
Now
that he
you
wasn't.
brought it back from 100 down to something else.
No. Listen to what I'm saying.
Well, you
man.
said way more.
No, Jack. No, I am not making this debate based on should I say absolutes. What I'm saying is
Really?
don't say because it's not absolutely 100% or zero, not ask questions.
You can ask all
You're
the questions you want. You're making assertions, and I'm just asking you what evidence you have for the assertion. And you're saying that this is how they operate. And I'm like, okay, I would concede the fact that the CIA could have used Oswald as an operative. Oswald could have acted for the CIA, and then they covered it up. I can see that. Could have. I concede all that they could have. But what I'm saying is you or no one else has any direct evidence that he was. Now, maybe in some of these declassified or these files that are still yet to be declassified, but I think all it will be the connection between the agencies. And I've told this story a million times again, but the guy that I met in Dealey Plaza in 94, when we were leaving and he'd been on the House Select Committee as a page when he was 19 years old, I said, dude, tell me what I'm not going to learn for 50 years. And he looked in the car and he goes, dude, Oswald did it. I was there. I saw everything. I said, then what am I not going to learn? He goes, what his connection was to federal agencies. And that stuck with me ever since he said that. He said he was on the inside and he saw this, that Oswald had connections to agencies. But even in that, the connections he has to agencies doesn't mean he did it for an agency. Maybe he did have agency connections, went rogue, did it on his own, whatever. So maybe with the last things, but one thing we will not see, we're not going to see a release document that goes today, heading CIA, Langley, Virginia, whatever. It's going to be, you're going to have the heading at the top of the paper. Today, November 22, 1963 at 12:30 Central Standard Time. We did kill one JFK and we used Lee Oswald. Make sure he gets paid this week. We're not going to find that document.
Why are you asking me to produce it?
But we may find documents that show that they damn sure had a greater connection to Oswald.
Dude, again, but why are you asking me to produce that document then? By
I'm not
saying,
asking you to
can you
produce
show
it. I'm
me the
asking you to
evidence?
concede the fact that you don't have 100% certainty that Oswald acted for the CIA.
You don't have 100% certainty that he did it. But I'm not asking
I do.
to give me 100%.
I definitely have 100% certainty he did it. Yes.
Okay, dude. But again, I'm not going to waste my time on that. I'm just not. And I wish people would stop. I really do. They're wasting their
I just
time.
think in a
They're
murder, I think in a
Hold,
murder
hold on,
case,
man.
who
Hold on.
actually
Hold
did the
on.
murder is important. You don't seem to
Dude,
think that
again,
matters. I think it
fine, he
does.
did it. Can you move on
All
to
right, if he
something
did it,
else
then you
such
have
as
to say, who
who?
did he do it
As
for?
why?
Who
As
did he do it
why?
for?
No, why?
Motive is
Once you
never
start with
motive's
why,
never an element.
again, man,
Motive's not an element. He could have
and
done it for kicks. He
no,
could have done it because
no,
Marina wouldn't come back to him. He
to
could have done it
you,
because
motive,
Marina said he's a
to
good-looking man. That's even been
to
argued.
to you, motive's not an element. But the
Motive's not an
person,
element in a criminal matter.
okay, but again, man, I'm sorry. This isn't a
If
court.
everybody in the neighborhood wants someone dead and somebody with no motivation whatsoever does it, it doesn't mean the people that wanted that person dead have anything to do with it.
But more than likely, that is the case.
I don't know that more than likely is even something that you can consider. I think it's
No,
a non-factor.
I would say more than likely it is, for the fact that if a stranger comes into your neighborhood and shoots you, stranger, and they have no motivation, they don't know you, no ties to you, whatever.
Yeah.
I would
If you're
then
talking about the
ask,
techniques of a detective and you want to start looking into, okay, who wanted this guy dead? And you go around the neighborhood and find out there's all kinds of people, then yeah, that's definitely leads into like, hey, we got to find out why all these people want this guy dead, because some rogue agent comes in and does it. And we can't really see a clear motivation. Wonder if he got hired by one of these other neighbors. Sure. It's a link. There's a lot of unsolved cases, though, because sometimes you can't find a link.
yeah, you can't find the link, but the best way to make sure you don't find the link, kill the person that did it.
No doubt about that, too.
Okay, and again, that's what I've been saying. And throughout world history, you send out an assassin. The first thing you do is that, so you can't start putting two and two together.
I'm conceding the point that what Ruby did to Oswald appears to be a hit. But I'm also showing all that time frame stuff that I talked about that presents a problem, that it does seem like a random act. Okay, we don't know. And we're never going to really know. Did Ruby say some things? Where Ruby said some things in custody. There's the famous when he's walking out of one of the courtroom hearings, and they're like, he makes a comment about people in high places, and he goes, "Why don't you ask the president now or whoever's in?" I mean, there's all kinds of things that were said. The other big film of him, he's in the courtroom and he says, "I'm stuck in this position because of people in high places and I can't really talk about it," or something. He also supposedly told Earl Warren in Dallas, "Take me back to Washington and I'll tell you everything." And Gerald Ford was there. And they're like, we don't have that kind of security to make sure that you're secure. No, really? You're the Chief Justice and you're down here on Warren Commission business and you can't find a way to take him, put him in a holding cell in D.C.? He said, "I can't speak here." Ruby's famously said, "I can't speak here safely, but take me back to Washington. I'll tell you things I won't tell you here." And they said, "Nah, that's okay. Stay here." That seems kind of weird. I'm agreeing to all that. All I'm saying is, from the structural argument aspect of this, what we can say is, and again, I can't say with 100% certainty that Oswald fired the shots and no one else was firing. I'm like 99.9% sure myself. I'm sure of that to 99% accuracy, or I'm secure at 99%. But I say that, I damn sure can't tell you I don't think he wasn't working for someone else. I damn sure wouldn't tell you I think that he did it alone without any other help or any other push or motivation from some others, or he was part of something. But I do keep open that it might have just been random, that he may really have just had a broken marriage and a heart broken and all the rest, and he was pissed off because he couldn't make it back to Cuba. And there is that argument I talked about in the last show that he supposedly said, like, really? You won't let me go back to Cuba, or you won't let me go to Cuba? How about if I go back and kill Kennedy? I'll show you guys. That might have been his motivation. And when he went to Marina, he's at his wit's end. Nothing ever works out. She's left him. He really loves her. They got 2 kids. They just had the baby Rachel just a month before. And he's like, "Baby, let's give it one more try." And like Gerald Posner said in the show the other day, he even promised her he was going to buy her a washing machine, which was one of those sticking points. Like, "Lee, we don't even have a washing machine like all the other jet set people." And he was like, "I tell you what, I'm going to buy you the washing machine. I'm going to start taking care of things. We're going to get a new place." And she goes, "No, I think I'm going to stay here for a little bit longer." Maybe that's what put him over the edge. Maybe he went there totally indifferent to killing the president, or he went, "Let me see how this plays out," and he grabbed the rifle the next morning because he was pissed at her. I don't know. I think it's plausible, but I think he did the shooting.
because they're easy.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that John Wilkes Booth shot Lincoln?
I'm way more concerned about why.
No, I'm just, all right. We can get
I'm
into
just
all the
saying,
reasons.
man.
We can get into all the reasons why Booth
Yeah.
wanted Lincoln dead, but do you think he
Yeah.
shot him?
Yeah, he shot him. Yes.
Do you think he did as part of a conspiracy?
Yes.
We know that he did. He
Why
had
do we know?
co-conspirators.
Oh,
Because
really?
the one guy was there supposed to be killing Stanton. One guy was
no,
supposed to be killing Grant. Johnson. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I agree with you on that. Trust me, I
Yeah.
understand what you're saying. So
That was known to be a
Yeah.
conspiracy. Go ahead.
right. It was known to be a conspiracy.
Yeah.
So we make sure that doesn't happen again.
We make sure that doesn't happen again?
Yes, we make sure that the assassin gets killed. Yeah.
Well, in the
Yeah.
assassin of McKinley,
Yeah.
nobody killed the assassin until he was executed. My
Oh,
memory
okay.
of the Garfield assassination, that guy was executed.
Okay.
Brennan that shot Wallace was taken from the scene. Hinckley was taken from the scene. Who are these assassins that are getting killed on the scene
Well,
or shortly thereafter?
So the thing about specifically about Oswald, but you brought up Booth. Yeah, I agree with you. It was
Booth got
conspiracy.
shot 12 days later.
Right, I understand.
Right.
He got shot
In a barn in
12
Port
days
Wall,
later.
Virginia, 12 miles from where I grew up. Go ahead.
Yes.
All right.
There was a grand conspiracy.
Yeah.
All right, that's fine.
And he may have gotten away, and it might have been somebody else killed, because all those Union soldiers gained a lot of money at the time for taking out. That's a theory that he got away and lived in Oklahoma until he was, until 1904. That he did get away. I don't know. There's some pretty good evidence of that. Pretty good. Well, there's some interesting tales about that the guy killed in Garrett's barn in Port Royal, Virginia wasn't Booth. And then once they found they shot the wrong guy, because they were burning the barn down around him. When they pulled out this guy, full of soot and and smoke, it was like, oops, got the wrong guy. And they're like, okay, we stand to make a lot of money. Boston Corbett famously was the one that fired the shot. But if they pulled out the wrong guy and he died there on the porch, there was some motivation to go, we're getting a lot of money. We're splitting a lot of money over this reward for taking out Booth. Let's all lie about this, because we're, that's
so
possible.
Money is a motivator.
Well, if you're a Union troop on the grounds in Virginia, just post-World War, or just post-American Civil War, and Lincoln's dead, and you just shot a guy, and you're getting $100, which in today's money from a guy that might be, 10 grand, whatever the hell that, if you call that a motivation, it's like this. We can go ahead and accept, hey, we shot the wrong guy. Let's go ahead and tell our superiors we shot the wrong guy. How much cash do we get for that, Captain? Nothing. Oh. Or we can lie and say it's Booth. Yeah. I don't know.
So it is a motivator.
Oh, definitely.
Okay.
That, and might cover their ass a little bit too. Going around shooting the wrong guy and claiming it's Booth was a risk.
Well, yeah.
But it might have made it might have made more sense, especially when they were ordered not to fire, and Boston Corbett fired anyway. But yeah.
Right. All right. So money's a motivator.
I think money's a motivator a lot.
Okay.
I don't know if that was a motivator for Boston Corbett to shoot first when we were told not to, but yeah.
And how much money did the mob make once Kennedy was gone? How much money did the military industrial complex make once Kennedy was gone?
Quite a bit in Vietnam.
Again, man, that's what I said. If money's a motivator for the people, if money's a motivator for those guys who allegedly shot John Wilkes Booth in that barn, why can you not think or say that money's a motivator for those two entities, along with another one who shall remain nameless right now, is a motivator to get them to get rid of Kennedy?
Charles, I love you, brother. I love you.
I'm just saying, man.
I love you, brother.
Tell me.
I just,
please tell me.
I'm telling you what I'm saying. And I keep saying the same thing over and over. I started out in my youth, obsessed with the Kennedy assassination, fascinating whodunit mystery and all the rest. I listened to the conspiracy theory. There's 47 shooters from 19 locations.
Not talking about the shooters, man.
I am. And when I heard that, and I heard all the impossibility, and then over time, I started to see all these things slip away. And I'm like, hey, you know what? That person touting that conspiracy, selling the book, and they're full of shit. They're wrong about this. They're wrong about that. And then I started looking at the evidence like, son of a gun. As it turns out, kind of looks like that Oswald character probably did it. Okay, he did it. in my eyes, it started to seem more and more like he is actually the shooter. So then my views changed. And then I'm like, maybe it's a little bit more simple than I thought. But then I left open the lane. This is back to the churches. Maybe you've created another church. There's a church of the lone nut. There's a church of the grand conspiracy. And there's where I am. I think Oswald did it, but I'm not quite sure for who or why. That's it. That's all I'm saying. There's no definitive answer. If you said he did it as someone working for the CIA, I'd be like, yeah, fine, prove it to me. Or I'll accept that you may be right, that that's what happened. But I also leave open the possibility that it was Amir. His wife rejected him from coming back, and he said, yeah, wait, screw it, I'll kill the president. That's it. That's all. He was somebody seeking historical fame. They wouldn't let him back into Cuba. I'd like to know what Sylvia Duran really had to say about him. What did he say in front of all these people? Was he really in Mexico City? Some dispute that. All these things are a mystery, but I understand what you're operating from. You're operating from the big, bad, sinister government agencies that might cover up things. I don't disagree with that, but I still think that to make a valid argument about who these particular agencies are in the death of Kennedy, you got to show how they shot and Oswald didn't, or Oswald shot for them.
No, I don't have to show why. No. All I have to, dude, you're only giving me a binary choice, man. And these binary choices.
That's what the binary choice is.
Oh, no. Those are the choices that you're giving me.
Tell me the other choice. I'm
terribly sorry.
Tell me another choice.
Dude, I don't know how many times people have to say this.
Tell me another choice.
That another theory could be he was part of a conspiracy.
Right.
Where they used him as a quote unquote patsy.
Okay. Now, did he fire the shots and become a patsy, or was he just wandering around inside the school book depository perfectly innocent and went, oh shit, somebody's on the 6th floor with my rifle. Now I'm going to get this pinned on me. Which one is it? Which one's most likely?
Again, man, how about this? Mm-hmm. It's awfully difficult to make this argument for the fact that you only give binary choices. And if you're only going to give a person a binary choice, then you're going to say, well, one is what I believe and the other is a complete BS. And not
let me ask you this.
Hold on, man.
Let me ask you this.
Hold on, man.
I got to ask you this.
Dude.
Is it not a choice that you have to make on whether Oswald fired a shot, any shots, no shots?
Dude, it's kind of like this, man. It's kind of like the choice that you had given me in a previous podcast when it comes to either I vote for Democrats or I vote for Republicans. That choice. And it's like, I don't have to vote for either one.
I never said that. I never said that.
I never said that. No, what you said is you need to
I said one of the two are going to win. I said one of the two are going to win.
No, what you said was that voting for a third party was a waste. So essentially, what you're only trying to give people options are your two options. That's not what everybody wants, or your two options.
That's
what I'm saying
to you. If you think that the Democrat and the Republican are equally evil and you want to make a third party vote to make a statement. No, I'm saying, okay.
But that's not what anybody else is saying.
In the last presidential election you had a distinct difference between two parties, and I think that the choices were distinctly different.
Jack, you have to understand that there's more choices than what you're willing to give people.
I'm not. Okay. Whoa, Charles. Yes. That's way out of line.
It's not,
Charles,
man. Because that's
I'm
what you're doing
when
here.
Two major parties, one or the other, is going to win, then to go to a third party
that's
pivot
exactly
could
what you're
feed
doing,
the
man.
one that you don't want to win. That's all I'm
Jack,
saying.
That's exactly what you're doing, is giving people your only two options.
How am I giving it to them? You telling me that somebody can't go in there and pull the third lever? Because I said something?
No. What you're saying is, if you don't pull for the one that I pull for, then you're wasting your option.
That's an assessment.
Call it what you want, man.
But the thing is, I'm not dictating that anybody do anything.
Oh, well,
I'm saying people are in the dark that keep saying that pulling the third party lever doesn't have a massive effect potentially in putting a worse candidate in the office.
But what you should say, honestly, is those people who vote their conscience are not willing to go with the BS that is given to them by the other two parties.
All right, let me try to lay this out. Let me try to lay this out. Let me try to lay this out and be clear. I think there have been presidential elections I'll give you one. I think like
Hold on,
Gore.
we were talking about
I think like
Oswald.
Gore Bush. Let me finish this point. I think like in Gore Bush 2000, I don't
Yeah.
think there was a shit bit of difference between either one of them. I think the country
Okay.
would have gone probably in the same direction either way. If
Right.
someone in there had said in that particular case, it's going to be a razor's hair, which it was in the Electoral College, you know,
Yep.
the popular vote's going to be pretty close. Gore took it by a little bit, but it's going to be close. I think in that case, if you're like, you know what, I want to make a political statement of my own personal statement. I'm going to go third party Ralph Nader. I'm going to go Winnie the Pooh. I'm going to go wherever. I think that choice leads to a result where Bush, Gore, who gives a shit? It's probably the same thing. I think there have been elections, though, where there could have been a grave amount of difference. If you get the wrong person in the office, you're going to get, my only point all along has been, you're going to get a Republican or Democrat. You're going to get one or the other. And if you feed a third party vote enough, you might get the worst of the two choices, the two evil choices. If the evil is great enough between the two choices, I think sometimes you're going to want to go with the lesser of two evils because you don't want the evil choice. If the two evil choices are equally evil or they're just kind of benign, and shit, go pull the third party. All I'm saying is only one of those two parties is going to win.
So who was worse of a choice, Bush or Gore?
I don't think there was any difference.
Well, I do see a difference between the two.
Then vote accordingly. Fine, knock yourself out. I don't care.
No, I understand what you're saying, but
we're coming off 8 years of Clinton, which weren't so bad. I don't think Gore was nearly as dangerous. I mean, it could be argued Bush was worse. Look what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So it's all about perspective.
That's in hindsight.
It's all about perspective, and really it has to do with if your side won or lost as to how you feel about a third party. That's really what happened.
I don't have a side.
Your it's not even a philosophical side because they're both the same philosophies. That's the thing that really.
I don't disagree with you there too. I think though that between the Republicans and Democrats, sometimes one of the candidates can be uniquely a destructive person.
Depending on how you look at it, and that's why there's more than two parties. There's more than two thoughts.
All right, you drug this back out to make this argument that I'm trying to dictate what people do. I just expressed an opinion that people are at odds with reality if they think a third party vote is going to do anything to not put one of those two party members in the White House.
Okay, but the thing is, you're contributing to our demise.
Not fine. You know what else you can do is exercise what I often exercise. I have done for decades. I just don't vote at all because I don't think there's any difference.
That's the thing that I said. Most people have a better argument not to vote at all.
Sure.
If they're going to contribute to our demise by voting for someone who supports their demise, then you're better off not voting.
I'm not sure there's not
or vote for someone vote for someone that you do share a philosophical view with. Don't just vote for somebody who you know is going to.
Boy, I keep thinking I'm clear on this. I think I'm clear on this, but I guess I'm not. Here's what I'm saying. I think there are times that when the two choices are up, that a person could look logically at the two choices and say, I tell you what, that person's the son of a bitch, but damn, that one's a lot worse. And even though I'm going to hold my nose and vote for the lesser of two evils, it's paramount that I do so because if that person gets in, it's going to be really bad. Or you have equally bad, and I want to go third party to make a statement because that person more aligns with my true feelings.
It's not about making a statement. It's not about
it is about making a statement.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not about making a statement.
Okay.
It's not, man.
You are making a statement to vote with somebody that aligns with your principles. That is making a statement.
No,
now you're saying exactly. It is making a statement.
Well, how about this? Which is worse? I'm going to support somebody that I don't align with philosophically.
If it keeps something out that makes things worse, that's a strategy.
No, man. Think about that, man.
Are you drug all this back up for what reason? We were on the other thing. I got a lot more. You're giving me credit for a lot more power than I could possibly ever have. In that argument, I still think that people who are looking at a third party in a situation where there may be graver circumstances if you don't try to keep somebody out of office. It's a choice you can make, but it's your choice. That's fine.
How
I would never
many
tell anybody
times?
not to.
How many times do people have to be fooled by what you just said?
I don't think anybody's fooled.
Actually,
You're acting
everybody.
like I have any
Dude, they're
influence
not.
on what anybody does.
I didn't say you had any influence. That's not my point, man. My point is,
You're acting like I'm
people
on
keep
here.
saying, people keep saying, well, I'm just going to vote for the lesser of two evils. It's still evil.
It's still a choice.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so much worse, man. That's what makes it so much worse.
You can say it's worse, but voting for less evil is a strategy which would, if you're correct, would produce less evil. Your third party pick, I'm seeing in these examples, is more helping to guarantee that one of the potentially worst candidates could win.
And that's all about perspective. And usually that comes from the loser's point of view.
You act as if I give a shit about any of this, honestly, because look, in 2008, I wanted Alan Keyes or I wanted Ron Paul. That wasn't going to happen in what was then called the Republican Party.
And I voted for them. I voted for them in 2008. I voted for Ron Paul 2008. I'm sorry, 2004.
You wrote
2008, 2012.
Or did they appear on the ballot at all?
I wrote them in. How about this?
I'm with that.
Because my
McCain-Obama, if you wrote in Paul, I'm with you.
Okay. Listen to what I'm saying, though, Wayne. My current federal representative usually would run unopposed. And think of it this way, man. I wonder how many, and you notice you never see this.
Right.
I wonder how many votes Mickey Mouse gets every election.
He gets a lot.
I'm sure. Because all they want you to think is that there's two choices.
Right.
That's what they want you to think. That is only two choices.
That is what it is, but yeah.
Okay. Well, no, it's not. No, it's not. They got you to believe that. They got you to believe.
Boy, they really put one over on me.
Do you really? I'm sorry if you keep voting for that and expecting a different result. Yeah, they did get over on you then.
Got it.
You're expecting a different result.
Got it.
But they don't give you a different result.
I didn't know this, Charles. I wish you'd have told me 25 years ago that if I had voted third party, we'd stop getting the Democrat and Republican candidates we've been getting. I did not know that. I am damn if I didn't know. I didn't know.
Well, no,
because it seems to be we keep getting these same candidates. They seem to be named candidates. They seem to follow the same pattern.
For them.
And I didn't know that. I didn't know that me voting third party was going to change all that.
No. But Jack, the reason why we keep getting these really terrible candidates because you keep voting for them.
Exactly. It's me voting for it. So if I would stop doing it, I'm going to do that in the 2028 election. I'm going to change the whole dynamic. I'm going to change it because I'm going to go third party.
I'm not talking to the rest of the country. I'm asking, why would you expect something different with your vote? Why would you expect something different? You keep voting for the same people.
Charles, I don't, as long as I've known you close to 30 years, 25 years, whatever. I don't know why the hell you did not tell me this some time ago. All this time, you didn't tell me that if I would vote third party, then that would change the presidential structure or the candidates for the presidency. I didn't know. I didn't know it was me. I didn't know I had the power to convince people not to do this. I didn't know I had that kind of power. You pointed that out to me. And now I'm finding out shit all the time. All I had to do was vote third party and it would have changed the dynamics of everything. I didn't know.
No, but I'm just asking, why do you vote a certain way but expect a different result?
I tend not to vote at all because I don't see the point.
No, but again, that's not answering my question. My question is, why do you vote a certain way but expect a different result?
I don't expect
that's a different result.
Asking. I don't, Charles.
Then why do you vote?
Charles, I'll try one more time.
It's a really simple question.
Charles, I'll try one more time.
Okay.
These are my situations. It's again, to me, it seems logical. Okay. There's a Republican and a Democrat, and I can be with 100% certainty one or the other is going to win. Okay. And I can look Bush Gore. I can look McCain Obama. All right, you're
Ask Teddy
giving me the
Roosevelt
face,
about
but you
that.
tell me the last time a
Ask.
Republican.
Oh no.
Tell me the
You
last
say
time a Republican or
100%.
Democrat didn't win the presidency. Tell
Call
me
it
that.
what you want, man. You say that, but ask Teddy Roosevelt about it. I think he would disagree.
Why would he disagree?
So because did he
Did
not
he win as a
win?
thord party? No, he
Yeah,
ran as
he
a third
did.
party
Yeah,
candidate,
sure.
and he didn't.
Yes,
He was a
he
Republican
won.
when he won. He won as a
No.
Republican. He lost
His second time he ran on the Bull Moose Party and he won.
No, it's when he lost. He took over from McKinley's assassination. He won in 2004. Then he skipped and gave Taft 2008. And then he tried to run again in 2012 and lost as Bull Moose. He ran as the incumbent president in 2008.
You know, if I'm wrong on this, I own it, but I don't think I am.
Okay, I'm going to check it quick. We'll go.
Hold on. Regardless, though.
All
Regardless.
Right. Regardless. Okay.
The question is, why do you vote a certain way, but expect
and by the way,
result?
him running in 1912, what did he assure? Who did he assure was going to win? That's a great point.
I don't know.
Woodrow Wilson. Woodrow Wilson.
Okay.
Yeah, he ran Taft out because he had a pissing contest with Taft. He couldn't get the Republican nomination again. He goes, I know what I'll do. I'll run as a third party. I'll show Taft I'm upset with him because he was my handpicked boy to follow me. And now he decides, well, piss and moan on him. And you know what? He decided he went right in and he put Woodrow Wilson in the White House.
Interesting. So he decided not to go along with the BS. More power to him.
Yeah, and he put the bad guy in. So how about that? Figure that out.
But at least he could sleep at night.
Republican. Yeah, I see. Slept all right. Yeah, and a bunch of kids died in Europe too.
Yeah.
Okay, in a war that you say weren't going to fight. And you have a progressive era, and you get your 16th Amendment, and you get your 17th Amendment, and you get all these things, and you get your League of Nations. You get all that. Yeah, you get all that thanks to Theodore Roosevelt.
And that's kind of my point about vote your conscience. Really.
Okay.
Vote your conscience. Do what you believe philosophically.
All right, I looked it up, though. He ran as president. He was a Republican through 1912. The only reason he went to the new party affiliation of Bull Moose was to run for president because Taft was the nominee. Exactly what I said. He was president. He was vice president when McKinley was shot. He took over. He served the 1901 through the end of that term. He ran in 2004, was reelected as a Republican, and he handed it off to Taft, which he then had a falling out with. And then he jumps in 1912 and runs Bull Moose and loses.
Oh, like I said, I was mistaken. And because I was mistaken at that, I will no longer say that again.
Okay. But you also see how he basically put Woodrow Wilson in the White House, too.
Let me finish, though.
Tell me if you don't agree with that.
I was mistaken because I've seen the error of my ways, and I will never say that again.
Okay.
Can please, people, stop voting for people that you know are only going to go in the opposite direction of which you believe in yourself.
That's not what I'm saying.
Do what I do. Do what I do. Do what I do. Because as I just said, I'm not going to go around saying what I just said about Theodore Roosevelt and the Bull Moose Party winning. Because I've been proven to be incorrect. You keep voting for the Democrats and Republicans and expecting them a different result. Use what I just did. Use the same philosophy and logic of what I just used to say that I will never do that again because I was wrong. Try that. Everybody try that.
I didn't even realize how much of how destructive this was. Theodore Roosevelt ended up with 4 million plus votes and 88 electoral votes. And Taft ended up with 3.4 million and 8 electoral votes. So
really, if you really think about it, it was Taft that was more of a drag than Roosevelt was, right?
Well, he was more of a drag on the position of voting against Wilson, but he was a Republican nominee.
Again. So again,
he was the incumbent president.
Drag.
Well, he was the incumbent president.
So technically, he came in third place.
He did.
The Republican dude came in third place.
And he was the incumbent president.
We're just going to continue going because the party says to do this. We have to do this.
He was the incumbent president. I mean, Charles, there's some realities you have to work in the political world. If a guy's a sitting president, if the former president says, hey, step down, I don't know that the sitting president generally has said, oh, okay, yeah, Teddy, jump back in. He would have been a better candidate.
Should have.
Well, from a standpoint of let's have the party win, yeah, he probably would have been, but he didn't get the nomination.
So
Taft.
wow. So this is just another one of these instances where party affiliation just screwed everything up.
Maybe
This is another.
maybe this is good podcast arguments, but I mean, maybe everybody's going to enjoy a food fight like this. But what I'm saying is, if everybody's operating outside the Constitution, you don't really have a choice. But what happens is, all I'm saying is, one of these two parties is going to win. You know it, I know it, everybody knows that. So sometimes I think the circumstances can be grave enough that you might want to go in and vote for one of the two evils to try to avert the worst evil or the greater evil. And the rest of the time, I think it doesn't matter.
What are you? They're not. This is why I don't do that. Avert the greater evil, or just go to it slower. Because that's all they're doing. They're not averting anything.
I think everybody hears me, and I guess everybody hears you, but I think everybody hears what I'm saying. I'm saying that the two major parties have a history of evil. I don't disagree with that. They have policies.
So why do you expect them to do anything different?
I don't expect them to do anything
different. And why do you give them your support then?
The only time I vote, for the 173rd time, the only time I'm going to vote is to go in when I think it's grave enough that I vote against the bad guy. The worst guy, should say. Worst guy or gal. Sometimes I might look at it and go, this might be grave enough to vote against this. But otherwise, it's like, it's just more the same mess.
Man,
if you can show me a story where the third party person does anything but siphon votes away from what might be potentially not as bad a choice, then I'm fine with that.
But that's all perspective, usually from the loser, because the same people. It's interesting that the Republicans use that argument against Perot. The Democrats use that argument against Nader, when technically all of those candidates on both sides, the Democrats and Republicans, both of those elections, they're all garbage. They were, but they're going to use a scapegoat as saying, "Oh, but Nader, if it wasn't for him, Gore would have won."
Let me try this.
Whatever.
Let me try this. Let's say that 1 is extreme left, and let's say 10 is extreme right. You can understand. Let's use that. You can understand that in a primary season, Republicans tend to play around the 7-8 gap, and the Democrats will play around with 2-3, kind of the 2-3 on the scale. Once again, follow me. 1 is extreme left, 10 is extreme right. Republicans are going to go into primaries playing more right than they're going to run because they're trying to get their base. The lefty's going to go a little bit more left. Then they're going to come and the Republicans going to run as a 6 and the Democrats going to run as a 4, roughly 4.5, 5.5. They're going to try to run in the center. Let me finish this point. And what you're having happen when you have a Nader or you have a Perot.
Hold on, it's something that you're missing, man. In your explanation. No, it's something you're missing in your explanation. Are you saying that the Republicans are running on a 7 on their side?
No.
Their side of 0?
No, I just identified it. 1 to 10, left, extreme, 1. Extreme right, 10. So on that scale, the Republican's going to play in the 7 slot to get all of that stirred up. He's Republican. He's right-leaning. He, she, whatever, dog, cat. Maybe even they play some 8 in some audiences, but they're going to run 5.5, 6. Fair?
Okay.
Fair?
Okay.
So the Democrats play in the 2 and 3. They go to some extreme leftist place. They're playing the 2 game. They're playing the 3 game. They're going to have to come to about 4.5 to get any kind of votes nationally. 5 being down the middle. Just follow me in my dynamics, okay?
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, what do you think happens if there's an electorate, and you and I will know this, there's about a 40% Democrat, there's about a 40% Republican, and there's 20 squishy in the middle, and a lot of people all think, I'm an independent, I'm a free thinker, I'm not a party-affiliated person. All right, whatever. Say that's 20 to 25% in the squishy middle, okay? Now the election comes. Let's say that there's a Republican running in the 6 gap, okay? And there's a Democrat running in the 4 gap. And along comes a Republican that's playing the 7 or 8, and he gets third party. Some candidate gets a third party 7 and 8. Do you not think that's going to pull some more extreme votes from the right wing?
Yeah. But
Okay. So then let's say
same thing
that
happens on the
person
opposite end of the
carries some
spectrum.
votes in the 7 slot, and the other guy trying to run the 5.5, 6 to be that centrist to get elected. Now he's competing against the ones that are getting pulled from the more extreme, and he's running against one candidate who's running the 4.5 gap, running that 4.5 slot. Who wins?
I've heard that argument 1,000 times, but it happens both sides.
All right, I can switch it. Now, Nader runs in the 2 gap. Call it Nader, some Green Party person, whatever. So now, do they not siphon votes away from the 4.5 Clinton?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's why these people say that. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying if you got 2 people on one side of the political spectrum that kind of split the vote of the people that lean more in that direction, that is a recipe for the other guy winning. That's it. That's all we're saying.
Oh, dude, we all already know that. The thing is, it's all.
But you keep saying, why does somebody vote for continue to vote for the evil? And I think what the Democrat Party's saying when they bitch about Nader, you better go for our 4.5 Clinton guy pushing towards 5, because you can't go 2-3 Nader, because it's siphoning votes off of us and we're going to lose. And now you're going to get.
That's why I said it's all about perspective. And usually it's from the point of view of the loser. That's why.
All right,
everybody
Charles,
knows
you've lost me. I love you, brother. You've totally lost me. You've totally lost me.
How did I lose you, man?
You say it's from the perspective of the loser. I'm not involved.
Because they're the only ones that ever bring up the third party thing.
I'm not the loser saying this. I'm saying any objective human being that saw 2 people on the side of a political spectrum that could draw votes from a common pool of people. And you got one that's playing kind of centrist to right on the other side. And you got 2 that are on the political left, siphoning votes from each other. I think there's a good chance the one on the other side running alone is going to win.
That's called math. Yeah, I get it.
Right. That's the math part. Now you're going, oh, well, you only say that if you're a loser. I'm like, no, the objective truth is if you got a more centrist Democrat candidate running with a more extreme lefty that pulls lefty votes, then that's going to hurt them against the Republican who's running center right.
I never disagreed with you on that because it's simple math.
Then why do you keep saying, why do people keep making the stupid choice of voting for the lesser of 2 evils? You've just guaranteed. What if you're that lefty person that wants to make the Nader vote? Are you not guaranteed a right winger is going to win or somebody right of center?
Maybe I don't see that there's a difference between Bush or Gore.
All right. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay. And that's
then you
what
vote
we're saying.
Nader and you guarantee Bush. Okay.
Yeah, again, as I said earlier in earlier podcasts.
Yeah.
Whether you vote Republican or Democrat, you always end up with John McCain.
Right.
Yeah,
I got
exactly.
you.
So
I'm not disagreeing with you on that as well.
I'm not a fan of John McCain, so I don't vote for either one of them if they mimic John McCain. That's what I'm saying. I don't support either one of them.
That's fine, Charles. The only point I've been making, I think you just conceded. That is, if you got 2 people running on one side of the political spectrum.
Dude, I've said that all along.
All right. But you keep hammering the person that votes for the lesser of 2 evil vote on their one side of the party because they should be making the stand to make the third party vote. And I'm saying all they're assuring is their side of the political spectrum is probably going to lose.
But this is what we're saying. Their side of the political spectrum is not going to lose because they're both the same.
I got you. Okay. If you want to say Bush,
that's what I'm saying, man.
I got you. There's a lot of Democrats out there. There's a lot of lefties.
Because you keep getting the same thing.
I got you.
You get wars. You get higher taxes. You get more regulation. You get all of the other stuff.
And I don't disagree with you that if you want to make the third party vote to make the state, is Nader going to be a third party vote call for you though?
Say again?
Would you ever vote for Nader?
In 2000, I did. Actually, I voted for Bush in 2000.
Why didn't you vote for Nader?
Philosophically, I did not agree with Nader. That's why.
Gotcha. But he could have been that. I'm not going to punch the Gore.
No. I just said philosophically. So all the other stuff didn't really matter.
So you didn't have a philosophical choice to fill that slot.
Pretty much exactly. Yeah.
I got you.
That's the point. So it's about philosophy for me.
See, we're not in a disagreement. I think where we've had this whole fight is I've heard from you, and I think that I don't think you're changing the point you're making, but I keep hearing from you this kind of refrain of stop falling into this thing. And all I've been saying, stop falling into the trap of thinking anything's going to change unless you go third party or vote your conscience. I get it. But I'm saying the only point I've been making all along is if you think something is a particular evil, to me, I can understand the rationale of voting for the lesser of the evil and not going the third party in a case where one or the other is going to be president. One or the other is going to be the winner. And I think sometimes the candidate may seem so grave if they won, you can't afford to play with the third party selection to satisfy your need to make a statement because the ramifications might be awful.
I really wished that I could see, or there was evidence that I would get something different, or if I voted a different way, there would have been a different result. Especially when it comes to the two major parties. I wish I could say that if I voted for this Republican this time, that I wouldn't have gotten higher taxes and more regulation or more wars and so on and so forth. They just keep doing the same thing, though.
I'm with you.
Okay,
and you're illustrating again my time when I'm saying the differences between the two major parties are indistinguishable. But sometimes I think there is a party member who might be so dangerous to vote for or have voted in that you might go, I want to make that statement. I want to go third party and feel good and sleep well at night, but I damn sure can't let that person be president if possible. So I'm going to vote for the lesser of two evils of the established two-party system.
It's not a statement, man.
What's not a statement?
It's not a statement. It's not a statement. And that's, again.
All right. Bad language.
That is the same.
I won't say statement. You're going to vote I said vote your conscience. You're voting your conscience.
Calling it a statement is the same thing as conspiracy theorists. It's the same thing.
I said I back off of it and I'll say you're voting your conscience.
Okay. So if I'm voting my conscience.
Yes.
If I'm voting my conscience.
Yes.
And these other two people I know good and well are against my conscience.
I got one being far more evil than the other.
No.
Let me just cut to the chase. Let me cut to the chase. Were you particularly supportive of Biden opening up the border? However many people came in. I got to give you an example. I have to give you an example. Let me just ask you that question. Were you particularly, whatever we see reported in the news, were you particularly supportive of what Biden did as it relates to the border of the United States, southern border?
As a libertarian, what do libertarians believe, or philosophically?
You're for open borders.
Why?
Well, libertarians are really all over the map on that. They are now.
No, actually,
they don't want a welfare state either. We're talking about an open border and All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. All right. Let me pick another subject then. Go ahead.
So one guy opens up the border, but the other guy is just going to make the state even bigger. So I lose either way.
All right. I can't get you on that. I got you. Good enough. Yeah. You must be good at fencing. Man. I'm trying to find a subject. All right. How about this? Let me see if I can find another subject. How about, were you for the president of the United States saying our patience has run thin? We're going to work for a mandate of an experimental drug jabbed in your arm. You okay with that? You okay with that?
Really? You're going to go down this?
I'm going to ask a question. You okay with that? Because I did hear a particular president say it.
Fine. Let's go down.
All right, if you had two presidential candidates, one says, I'll jab you against your will, and the other says no, or you'll lose everything you have, and the other one said, I would never mandate that. Would that be one of those particular issues that you would vote against the jab mandate guy to make sure that the jab mandate guy didn't get in? You would vote for the candidate of a particular party thinking you had a better chance of keeping that guy out. Or would you vote your conscience?
I'm going to need about 30 seconds for this one.
Go for it.
Okay. The person who kept the guy who was in charge of that whole program around obviously didn't learn as to what happened in the 80s.
All right. I got you.
Okay. So again, so you you keep that guy around, and then you tout. As a matter of fact, you run around saying, warp speed was my idea and all this other good stuff.
I understand.
So
that's not the question I asked, but I got it. I understand. No, I think that Trump should wear the stain of warp speed the rest of his life, but he never mandated the shot. He never mandated the shot, and I don't think he ever would have mandated the shot. So I gave that example. You pivoted to he should have fired Fauci. I get it. You're going to have a pivot to anything I say. I get it. All I'm saying is I think that there could be presidents that have histories that you either need to get them out of office, they've done things to get them out of office, or that particular person is too dangerous to be in office. But go ahead.
So if, let's see, the Democrats want to shoot me with this gun.
Mm-hmm.
The Republicans hand them the gun.
Mm-hmm.
They're both evil. And in the answer,
you're not saying specific people.
Hold on.
You're talking about two parties.
Yes, exactly. The Democrats want to shoot.
You think John McCain and Donald Trump are the same person?
Damn near, yes.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yes, damn near, yes.
Would you say that John McCain and Ronald Reagan were the same person?
Not very far off.
Okay. So you just got a stereotype of a Republican and you're going to say the Democrats are pretty much all the same as well.
You're going to have to give me somebody.
I don't disagree with you, man. I don't disagree with you. There's a lot of similarities.
You're going to have to, exactly, that's my point. If there's so many similarities with these people, I'm staying away from them.
Okay.
Period.
Okay.
Period. I'm staying away from them. They don't have to be 100%.
But what you're saying is you can't see anyone running for office with a grave enough concern to make that choice that I said I might make to keep that person out. That's what you're saying.
No,
you are saying that.
What I said
you're saying you're always going to vote your conscience.
Last podcast I said about this, if that's your one issue and you're going to die on the cross for that one issue, okay, I get it, man.
I'm not talking about one issue. I'm talking about a grave concern of somebody being in the presidency.
That's not my one issue. My one issue is the actual philosophy of going and starting new wars to kill people. That's my number one issue.
Right. I don't disagree with
yours
that.
may be something else. Okay. Especially if you're going to campaign on saying, I'm not going to do this, and then you go and do it.
If you're being critical of Trump right now, brother, I am right with you. I think he absolutely has gone 180 degrees against what he promised to be. Okay.
Okay, so
I don't disagree with that.
Man, for what reason, if he's the head of the party, why am I going to support? And it's not just him that's going along with this stuff.
It's not what I've said. It's what I continue not to say. What I'm saying is, do you think there's ever a time that you see somebody that you think is potentially so detrimental to the country that it's worth it not to make this is all I've been saying, not to make the third party choice and go with the established party just to try to get numbers to keep that other person out of office? You seem to be saying, I get the same person anyway, so I don't care. And that's fine if that's what you're saying.
No. Okay. What I'm saying, and I'm going to answer your question about this.
Yeah.
Generally, everyone's going to answer yes to that question if it goes against their number one priority.
Nah, I'm not even talking about priorities. I'm talking about, all right, I'll give you an example. I have no number one priority issue with Gavin Newsom.
Oh, well,
I haven't gotten the name out yet. I don't have I see somebody that I think acts in ways that has been very destructive to a state I love. I think California is a wonderful state. I love to visit there, but I see it going downhill. I've seen it go downhill for decades. Okay. So I look and see who's responsible for the going downhill. And you can see from moving the feet, the whole thing about U-Hauls and everything. Everybody's leaving California. Nobody's going out. You have made In-N-Out Burger. I love. Greatest thing. When they moved their headquarters to Tennessee to get out of the regulation bullshit they're dealing with. Man, when In-N-Out Burger is California. It's a family-owned. It's California. And all these companies are jumping out of California. There must be a reason why. Okay?
Yeah.
So, and I listen to a lot of Adam Carolla. Love Adam Carolla. He lives in California. He discusses this a lot. And Gavin Newsom. And he sees at ground level some of the effects of what's happened to California. So if someone said to me like, hey, would you like to see Gavin come American, a California? Oh, yeah, give me some of that. It wouldn't be, well, what specifically do you want to be like? No, I don't want to see that guy in that position to potentially bring to the U.S. what he's brought to one state. Are you with me? Are you with me?
How about this?
Are you with me
Give me
on
a sec.
that? What I've said so far.
Hold on.
All right, no,
Give me
okay,
a sec.
spin it. Go.
This is one of those panel things where you give somebody like 5 seconds to answer a question. Gavin Newsom is not a dictator within California. What caused California to get to the point that it's at is because of all the representatives that they have within the state and the people themselves.
I got you.
Gavin Newsom is
I
just
got
a
you.
part of the car.
I got you.
He's
I
part
got
of
you.
the machine.
I'm see where this is going to go every time. I got you.
No, dude.
I got you.
Asking,
You know,
dude,
in
I've thought about
2028,
this,
there's a really good chance Gavin Newsom's going to be the D on the
Okay.
ticket. You realize that?
I hear what you're saying.
All
I
right.
hear what you're saying.
So I'm saying
but-
is any history he had in California. Well, I tell you what he didn't do is he didn't prevent it. You can say you can blame it on the legislature. You can blame it on all the people other than Gavin Newsom. Okay, fine. But he's the governor, either vetoing bills or signing bills into law or making certain moves. He's not as the governor. He didn't have that power.
California is a supermajority Democrat. It
That's
doesn't
what
matter
I said.
if
He didn't veto the stuff, did he?
Dude, it wouldn't have mattered. That they're supermajority.
Okay.
It wouldn't have mattered.
I asked, did he veto it? You said it didn't matter. Okay,
Dude,
fine.
The thing is,
okay, fine. That's fine.
If you got to give him this, man. This is the thing you got to give about Gavin Newsom, especially being in California. Gavin Newsom can have the wackiest of wackiest views, and it doesn't matter for the fact that his legislature is going to give him a bill that is passed by a supermajority every. You're
not going to play along. You're doing a great job. I got to give you. This is some of the most entertaining podcasting I have ever seen. This is absolutely some of the most entertaining stuff I've ever seen.
I would say use a different state. And the state that I would use would be Kentucky. Kentucky is a better example for the fact that they have.
You use the Kentucky. Go and show me somebody that's going to be president of the United States coming out of Kentucky. Go.
No, that's not my point. I don't think Gavin Newsom is going to become president. That's my whole point. Okay. Right. And as much as I don't like Gavin Newsom, I do not put as much credit or give him as much credit for destroying California as I do the legislature.
I've lost the discussion, brother, because what I was trying to get into is, can I give you an example of somebody potentially running for president? You want out of California, you want to go to Kentucky, but not for the purposes of having a candidate come out of Kentucky.
Listen
give me a candidate that you think is dangerous.
I'm going to give you a candidate. That's why I'm using Kentucky as an example.
Someone from Kentucky running for president.
Dude, listen to what I'm saying, man. You're using the example of Gavin. Fine, whatever. Mm-hmm. Kentucky is a state that voted Ron Paul in a statewide election as a senator. Mm-hmm. Vote Mitch McConnell as a senator in a statewide election, but has Andy Beshear as their governor. Mm-hmm. That is way more dangerous, in my personal opinion, than what it is to have Gavin Newsom. For the fact that if you run somebody like Andy Beshear in the United States, he is actually more tolerable, or should I say palatable, to more people than Gavin Newsom is. So if I were to put the two of them on the ballot together, I just about guarantee that Andy Beshear would win and he would screw up
nationally
than I would if Gavin Newsom got on the same ballot. Because Gavin Newsom is so far out there, and he can be.
You're saying that Beshear's more electable,
and
you're saying Beshear's more. You're saying he's more electable, but Beshear
he's way more electable than Gavin Newsom is.
But dangerous, way more electable, but dangerous all the while.
But dangerous all. Gavin Newsom is not electable throughout the United States. He's not.
That argument's been made.
Issue.
That argument.
So that's my point.
You're making a political analysis, and we've gotten totally away from my model. Great podcasting, great story. I get it, because you're shitting on whether I bring up Gavin Newsom. I was just saying there are people, certainly, in media and in discussions like this, that think he stands a chance of being the Democrat nominee. They're still talking Kamala Harris as a possibility. I haven't heard Beshear as being a potential. You're saying he's more electable. Maybe he's not aware of it yet. Maybe the party's not aware of it. But who are the front runners for the Democrat nomination in 2028? Who are the front runners?
No. I want to make this clear. I'm not saying that Andy Beshear is going to run. What I'm saying is who is more dangerous to the country is someone who's in the middle. That's what I'm saying. Okay. Gavin Newsom,
we're having two different discussions.
Newsom winning is not. It is way less possible than a person. And I'm not saying Andy Beshear as personally. I'm saying a person like him is
All right.
way more dangerous
All right.
than
Okay.
Gavin
We're
Newsom
having
is.
two different discussions.
No, we're not.
Let
No,
me
no,
say,
because
what do you think are the chances? I'm just going to Google this like real quick. What do you think I'm going to get for leading candidates for the Democrat Party for the nomination for the Democrat Party for 2028? What
probably,
do you think I'm going to get?
probably, I don't know, Gavin Newsom,
Mm-hmm.
butt page, butt plug, Kamala Harris, and some other people. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Any of them you want to play this game with me? As being like super dangerous?
I would say probably the vast majority of them are. It's just to the degree.
Give me the worst.
Well, say again. Who would be the most dangerous if they had the House and the Senate?
Here's what I just found: Pete Buttigieg, Ro Khanna, Gavin Newsom, Kamala Harris, Josh Shapiro. Those are the ones listed as the real possibilities. And I think Shapiro might be the most electable on that group, don't you think? Nationally?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, so maybe like you're right. When it comes to national, Newsom won't be able to pull off. I was just making the point that, and
I'm agreeing with your point, by the way.
it's not going anywhere, but I just think that there might be a time that you look at somebody and say, man, they got a track record like a Newsom does within a particular state where everybody's trying to get out and not much is trying to stay in. You wouldn't want him to nationalize that approach. I don't know that he's not electable, but whatever. Okay. So
no. How about
in
this?
saying
I'll
that,
say
I'm
this.
saying, would you ever vote for JD Vance or Rubio or whatever on the Republican side, even though you would rather have somebody that aligns more with your political philosophy, your values? You might vote for that Republican candidate to make sure that person you think is too extreme left from getting in.
To use your analogy, okay, yes, I'm going to say yes, I would. Okay, but
Wait, you would what?
the,
I want
would
this
vote.
clear.
I would vote for a Republican or whoever it was,
Right.
a major
Would it
party
be to keep
candidate from a major
Newsom
party.
out?
Would it be to keep Newsom out?
Yes.
It really depended on who he's running against.
All right, let's try it. JD Vance
Okay.
against Newsom, and you've got your most attractive third party saying everything you've ever wanted to hear. Same election.
JD Vance, yes. But I have to say why. I have
Let's
to say
hear
why.
why. Let's hear why.
Because when it comes to my top of the pyramid subject,
Yeah.
JD Vance was one of the people that was saying, no, let's not do this.
So you're saying that Vance might reflect actually what your values are.
Yeah.
So you might be getting a 2-for-1. You might be, but what you're not doing is casting this vote simply to keep Newsom out.
No. Because
Right.
I don't vote against people. I vote for people.
Okay, you've made that clear. All right. I think we've gone 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
Maybe some of the best fighting we've ever done, probably. And we still don't know who shot Kennedy, and we still don't know who to vote for. All right, but I guess we've learned some things. All right, so what have I missed in all this? So anything else, last argument you want to make here?
No. I'm just going to say, you always, I'm a person that truly believes for things to actually get better, they're going to have to turn around. Just slowing down is not making things better. It's just making them less worse.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay, so if I want things to turn around, first of all, I'm not going to contribute to the worse by supporting the people that I know is just going to keep doing the same thing. Maybe not to the same degree, but you're still doing it. Still doing it. Until for it to turn around,
yeah,
it has to be the opposite of what they're doing to go in a different direction. You can't say that if the cliff is a place that you want to avoid. That voting for the person that's just getting you there slower is a plus. You're still going there.
I get everything you're saying, and I
You're
think
still going there.
okay. I see what you're saying, and I can't dispute it. I think we've both conceded a lot in the other person's viewpoint. But to kind of close the loop, all I'm saying is, and I think you've conceded this point, you got two people on one side of the political spectrum taking, kind of siphoning votes from each other, could almost guarantee the other side gets in. Okay. And an example, that 1912, kind of an example, there is a pissing contest that develops between Theodore Roosevelt wasn't real happy with Taft. He was his handpicked selector. That was his guy. Then he goes in there and is like, I'm not so happy with him. Now he goes in and disrupts votes on that one side and pretty much assures that Wilson's going to be the president. And that's what happens. For good or for bad, I don't think it was real good, but Wilson becomes the president. If somebody were to look back and say, Roosevelt really kind of guaranteed Wilson's election, and you come back and say, well, he was more popular than Taft. Taft should have dropped out. It's a point. I get it. But to look at that and think that both of them being in the election didn't split a vote that were combined might have put Wilson out, I think is naive and kind of, that's all I'm saying. You got two guys.
Because that would be denying simple math.
That's it. And that's all I'm saying. So all these times in that example, I could have seen someone saying, son of a bitch, Taft is president. I love some Teddy. I love Teddy, but Teddy's going to mess everything up and guarantee I'm going to vote for Taft to keep the president in, and not enough people did it. I could see people going to Teddy and saying, dude, you're guaranteeing the Wilson guy's getting in. I don't care. I'm standing on principle. Taft needs to get out. Well, Taft's not getting out. Guess what? You just made Wilson president. That's all I've been saying all along, using that example. And I could see where somebody voted for Teddy. I can see where somebody voted for Taft that was more on that side of the political spectrum. Both sides realizing, damn, we're going to end up getting Wilson as a result, because there's not going to be enough push one way or the other to get enough votes and electoral votes to get Wilson out. That being said, I think we're in agreement on the math. That's all I've been saying is the math. Yeah. Now, backing off the math, the only other gradation of this I've been saying is I tend to not vote. I just tend to go, hey, John McCain or Barack Obama or Gore Bush, who cares? You're getting the same guy. Right. When there have been times when I thought things were uniquely evil, potentially with that presidential candidate, then I might go, son of a gun, I got to go in there and vote against that. You're saying you're not a vote against guy. I get it. But because I don't see the people who ascend to these political positions ever really changing, I'm always on a watch for what I think is evil enough to make a vote against. That's it. That's all I'm saying.
I don't
vote for. I mean, I voted for Paul, and I would have voted for Paul, and I would have voted for Ron Paul, and I would have voted for Alan Keyes because I love both of them. But other than that, not really. Go ahead.
Part of the political party's strategy is to try their best to make the opponent look as evil as possible.
Okay.
So they can scare you into voting for their candidate.
All right, if you're talking about strategies, okay. So
even though their candidate is just a little less evil.
I've conceded the fact that one might be evil and one a little bit less. And sometimes the evil, I've said this 117 times. I think I keep saying the same thing. I'm going to sit out when I don't think it matters. But sometimes the gravity of the situation may be so great as to vote against what I think can't be in the White House. And it doesn't really get me anywhere. I'm conceding that too, because I think generally the people who ascend to political power that get in these positions to run for major parties are not really good people. Okay.
So if you notice, there's one thing that I haven't said.
What have you not said?
And I haven't said that people should vote against their number one priority. Whether I agree with whatever their number one priority is, I've never said that. And the reason being is mine may be different than yours. If that's what your conscience is telling you to do, because that is your number one priority, that's what you're most passionate about, who am I to say, don't do that? Well, if your environment's your number one priority, then you vote for an environmentalist. Okay, I get it. Dude, trust me, I get it. I don't know, medical malpractice is your number one, priority. You vote for the candidate who's toughest against medical malpractice. That's all I'm saying. If war and killing people is my number one priority, being against it obviously is my number one priority, I'm voting for the people who are not going to do that. But if you keep doing that, then you don't deserve my vote because you keep going against my number one priority. That's all
Yeah,
I'm
but
saying.
you would concede the fact that voting for Trump in the last election, you didn't. If you did, I'm not saying you did or didn't, but if you did, then you certainly didn't get what you bargained for.
If he had said that this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to go and attack Iran, hell no.
But what I said was, if what you voted for was no further crazy, unnecessary wars, you didn't get what you voted for.
No,
Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you. Yeah,
right.
I
Exactly.
didn't get it.
I get it.
And
I get it.
I look at, and the reason I say this is because, in my personal opinion, that is the one thing that has stripped us of so many rights, so much money, so many lives.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's my number one priority.
Right.
The other stuff, look, I get that it's important, but at the top of my pyramid, it's that one.
Yeah.
For my reasons. And I can't support anybody who goes against it. And like I said, man, the people who are environmentalists, I get what they're saying. It's the only planet we have, and that's who I'm going to vote for. Okay.
Well, in making that point too, it really dawned on me. It really hit me as you were saying that. I don't vote for anything. I only vote against things. I really
Well,
do.
I vote against war.
Okay. And that, yeah, and
Yeah.
I get it. Yeah, that I totally get it. Yes. So I could agree with that. Yes. But what I'm saying is I'm not looking for any level of government to do anything for me. I'm not asking them to provide anything for me. I want to vote for the candidates who are going to do the least amount of damage, to really do the least amount of anything. You go to the local level and you say, well, you need certain services provided or whatever. I'd always be pivoting towards the free market. I'd rather the free market decide, because people will do things for profit, will do things more efficiently. And in the end, it probably costs less. Matter of fact, there's another thing about Gavin Newsom I saw the other day. He's got a diaper program. This was on Adam Carolla, and I won't get the number exactly right, but I think it was 25 cents. He goes in and does this like multi-million-dollar deal to provide diapers to the diaperless or whatever. Then it's found out that his wife somehow benefited from it. But the interesting thing that was found is like some local station in California went to Costco or Target or wherever, and they found that you could buy in bulk the diapers at 16 cents per diaper, where what they're doing is costing 25 cents per diaper. Now, again, I watched this on Adam Carolla, but the interesting
Wow.
point was some of the people that benefited, but he was out there saying there are children that need diapers and da-da-da, and people are like, oh my God, he cares so much. Well, as a cost inefficiency right there. Like some multi-millionaire could have gone in there and bought all the diapers they wanted to and give them out to people, or they could have taken state funds and gone over to Costco, I guess, or who else might plug in? Sam's Club. They could have gone somewhere and bought them off the shelf and cost the taxpayer less. But somehow they're getting
that's the government.
That's the government. But there are going to be people
Buy
that
cheap,
say,
sell expensive.
but there are going to be people that see that and go, that son of a gun cares about diapering the babies. I mean, gosh, I mean, what greater man could you get than that? And that's going to be enough for them. Or they might say to you at the polls, I'm voting for I got a baby over there and his diaper's full of shit. And this guy right here is going to give us diapers. What's your guy going to do? And I might say, please show me in the Constitution, California, U.S. Constitution, or anywhere in between. Show me where diapers should be provided by the government.
Yeah.
Or that's a jurisdictional issue that diapers be provided. And you might
agree with you.
And the people look at you sideways. Of course, diapers should be provided by government. Government provides all. They feed, they clothe, they educate, they do everything. I don't see it that way. So again, if I get motivated at all to vote, it's always to try to stem an evil that I think may be occurring with that administration. But I don't vote for people. I don't see people and go, oh, wow, I see that person's being the answer. I just see people as being less evil. And if the evil I think I'm voting against is great enough, then I'll go vote. That's it.
I get it.
That's all I'm saying. But I do think we agree on that the math does sometimes skew the results in favor of one or the other. All right, how do we finish this? This 1 hour. This 1 hour we were going to do.
Yeah, I know, right? That's funny. I'm gonna say that from one of my favorite characters in TV history, I want to believe. Yep, I want to believe. Unfortunately, they're not giving me enough evidence to believe it.
Well, kind of what I was saying earlier. I don't look to anyone in political life to inspire me, or do I think there's any real chance they're going to get it right? Like when you think about how flipped it is with the market, right? You can open up a market and you can say, my meat is fresh and great cuts or whatever. And I can go there. I'm like, hey, given other grocery stores I've been in, this Charles and his cuts he puts out there are pretty good. And then you're going to live and die on the results that you create or whatever you're putting out there, your produce section, your meats, how you set up your store. You're going to live and die with whether or not it's attractive, cost effective, etc. The quality of what you do. You don't have to tell me. You don't have to do a speech. Now, you're going to advertise, but you can do all the advertisements and speeches you want. But what's going to eventually decide whether or not people come in your store?
Right.
Cost and quality, right?
Yes.
I can open up a burger stand, same thing. So constantly the market decides, the market kicks people out that aren't propped up. But in politics, and this gets often said, it's cliche, but people get kicked upstairs all the time. They do a really shitty job at a particular position. They become a party favorite. They get elected up to another position. And then the worse they do, the more they seem to ascend along the political ladder. And you're kind of like, how the hell is that happening?
Well, have you ever gotten food poisoning from a restaurant?
No, that's one of the most I'm not saying it didn't happen to you, but I just hear people, especially people miss work, or they're late for school when I was teaching. What happened? I got food poisoning, which is basically I was late and,
No, I've actually had it.
I'm sure people have. I just think most of the time I hear it, it's basically an excuse for being late for something. But
I understand. I get what you're saying. But I did get food poisoning about 20 some years ago from a place that
did it mean you just ate something you got violently ill?
I wasn't ill. I'm lactose intolerant.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Yeah,
but this was actually I got food poisoning. I was throwing up and stuff like that.
Right.
It was pretty bad. And that was the only thing I had to eat.
Okay.
So I know where it came from.
Right.
So with that said, take a wild guess what I didn't do.
You didn't sue the place.
Nope, not that part. I didn't go there any longer.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I got you.
Yeah, didn't go there any longer.
I thought lawsuit right off the top. Okay.
So I gave you my money, I gave you my support, and you poisoned me.
Mm-hmm.
You don't get my support any longer.
Right. But that's a market decision. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, and it's said that when you have that kind of experience, you'll tell 15 people or something like that. And if you have a good experience, you'll tell 3.
All right.
I don't know if the numbers are true on that or not. But I
get your point.
I went that time I talk about, and I'll tell you right now, and I'll tell everybody out here, and I hope they still exist, and I hope this does well. When I did my thesis, and I was talking about this with Posner the other day, interviewing G. Robert Blakey at Notre Dame, I packed a suit. It was at that time in life I was going to wear a suit and tie to interview G. Robert Blakey as a part of my thesis and the study of my thesis. And guess what happens when I get to South Bend, Indiana, University of Notre Dame? I'm going in there to interview this professor of the law school, Blakey, former chief counsel of the House Select Committee. Guess what I find when I unzip this cover I have for the suit?
A pistol.
It's completely wrinkled beyond belief. It's just like unbelievable. And I got about an hour, 2 hours before. So I'm in this hotel and I jump up and I go to this family cleaners. And I hit the door and I'm like, can I get this suit pressed? And I mean, like immediately. And the guy goes, hey, nice to meet you. We're a family owned business. But long and the short of it is he does it in 1 hour. And I said, okay, what do I owe you? He goes, hey, son, I can tell you really this means a lot to you. You don't know me anything. And I'm like, no. And he says, no. And I said, well, look, take this or something. I told 100 people about that. This is a mom and pop cleaners in South Bend, Indiana. They don't know me from Adam. He does my suit turnaround time in 1 hour so I can get the suit pressed, put it on, and go do the interview. You follow what I'm saying?
Yes.
I told 100 people
They're good
about
people,
that.
man.
Right. But not only that act of kindness, he could have said, I'm sorry, we'll have it done by 4:00 or whatever. That's our policy. Him being a family owned, it wasn't go out to somewhere and come back. Yeah, we got everything right behind me. Hey, dude, I'll have it done in an hour. Perfect, pressed, everything. And I'm telling you that story today because I told everybody I could tell. I don't know when I'm going to see these cleaners in South Bend, Indiana again, but they were some fine people and they took care. You know what I mean? Now, if that's how they treated people, I bet they did really well.
Yeah.
Right. And that's an experience that I'm talking about 30 plus years later. And I still remember it. And there are places I go, restaurants, there's places I go in general because I like the people and they treated me nice. You don't get that with government as much. But what's at stake for the business? What's at stake for the business?
You have a choice.
You have a choice, but also, if they make bad choices in the service to you, what do? You go somewhere else. You don't go back there.
Right.
That's what I'm saying is such a difficult part about the whole political aspect. We really don't have choices. We really don't. We can have congressional elections and the whole slate that we have to go in there as a member of the House are people that we know are either going to feed the machine or they're just not good candidates.
Was it divide and conquer? That's
I'm
what they've
all
done.
for you running for president in 2028. You're of age now, so let's get it done.
Okay.
Please run.
All right, I will. As a
Okay.
matter of fact, I'm going to announce my candidacy right now, and my platform is going to be it's all going away. There you go. That's my platform.
I thought
That's
you were
my
going to put
slogan.
the asteroid. I thought the asteroid would be somewhere in there. That's your
No, he's
running
going to
mate.
be my running mate.
He's going to be
The
your running
asteroid's
mate.
going to be my running mate. So, yes.
All right. Anything else you want to end on here?
No, we're good, man.
All right.
It's been a long time.
This has been More to Consider. This is Jack and Charles.
This has been more to consider times 3.
Times 3. It's 3 shows. We'll probably break these shows up. Anyway, love you, audience. Please like and subscribe. Love you, brother. And please like, subscribe, and comment. Please tell us what you think of our little argument here. Charles, brother, take care.
All right, you too, man.
All right, man.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. If you like the show, subscribe and hit your notification button to get an update when we post another episode. See you soon.